Hey guys, I'm Charles from Texas, captain of the USS Treksploration, and you're watching Captain's Table 2, The Wrath of Chris.
Treksploration.
Hello, Treksplorers, and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
Welcome to the Captain's Table 2, The Wrath of Chris. Today, we have our captain, Charles from Texas. How you doing, Charles?
Really great, guys. Good to see you again. It's been, about 6-7 months since we did this? So.
Yeah, time flies. And, of course, we have Cadet Listen Linda.
Hi.
Hi. And the Omnipotent Willard. The Omnipotent Willard!
Oh, hello.
Hello. This is our second Captain's Table. Chris, why don't you tell people what we're doing tonight? So I know.
I just want to do it right because the Omnipotent Willard knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when there's somebody outside walking down the street. That's Willard's pups barking. Tonight we are doing our Captain's Table. It's what we do semi-annually here every time a series ends or we get to the end of a certain series. And we have our Captain Charles from Texas on the bridge.
Captain Charles? Did we decide on a salute that you want?
I don't know, like Kapla. We don't know. We don't. Charles, it's up to you, really. What do you want us to do? We can do the high sign. We can do the bye sign. I mean,
I think I'll take Mirror Universe. I'll take anything that's in universe.
You got it, Captain. Yes,
Gotcha.
Captain. Oh, Captain, my Captain.
And we have come to the end of Lower Decks. Who'd have thought? The end of Lower Decks. Like maybe the end of the season, you think, but no, it's the end of the series. So
for now,
it's time for an LDS retrospective. I know, Albie, you don't want to believe it.
Nope.
But it is, as far as we know, the end of Lower Decks. And so we're going to do a Lower Decks sort of round up, wrap up, discussion. And we're also probably going to discuss some other stuff, time permitting, mainly Section 31, which is coming up as we record this in about a week. I just dated this real hard. In 10 years, when you're watching this, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, Section 31, the thing that transformed Trek forever and put it into the lexicon for the ages, that Section 31. I don't think
we'll know where we were.
Yeah, exactly.
A week before.
So... so we got a lot going on. We got all of our supporters are here with us live. So thank you one and all for coming and joining us here.
And, some more might be joining us along the way.
Captain's
And I think
Table.
everyone put your thinking caps on because I think we're going to have like a trivia thing later. Everybody's going to get to participate in trivia.
Sounds great.
And it's probably the same cards we already answered a bunch. So,
Yeah, exactly. It's always the same ones.
I don't know how.
I don't know how it works either, but we
The
always
answer is always Spock.
Exactly. So I would like to start this Captain's Table with a message from our captain. I haven't prepared you, but I just Captain Charles from Texas. What do you think of our crew so far and the show and what we're doing and the direction we're going? Thoughts, critiques, hopes for the future? Anything like that, Captain?
On Treksploration?
Yes.
Well, first, I'm wearing the cool shirt.
Woo!
Very cool. So I first off, I'm just blown away about how much content you guys are putting out. I can't keep up with I try to watch during work. I work from home 3 days a week. So you guys are just killing it when it comes to content. I really appreciate the depth that you guys get into. Sometimes I have to go back and I'll go back and watch these episodes. I can't recall half of what you guys are recalling on this stuff. Anyway, so far so good. I'm over the past couple months, I've seen a lot more engagement from the patrons on there, and that's cool. I'd love to see more. Love to know what we could do to get more traffic coming through. But you said the last video, the Strange New Worlds, had 400 something views? Is that what you said? Al?
Yeah, it's getting up there. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, for us, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. So awesome work, guys. I think I'm glad to see you. When we had the last Captain's Table, you guys were considering how you'd go through, whether you'd go through an entire series before you touched another one. I really like that you're touching, a few episodes in one and then jump to another. I think that keeps it fresh. And personally, I'm really excited to see that you guys are getting into Strange New Worlds. That's one of my favorites. I think it's one of the best things that Paramount's done with it since it's come back. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Thank you, Captain. My Captain.
Any
thoughts on that, Linda?
Ringing in
any of those things?
I'm so excited about. There's a new season of Strange New Worlds coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
soon.
They haven't announced the date yet.
Soon, 2025.
They're in pre-production on 4 now, I think.
Yeah, they started filming season 4. Exciting. I'm most looking forward to the noir episode, the murder mystery episode.
Oh, yeah.
The Omnipotent Willard. How did this show go? Let us know. This episode, particular. This Captain.
This episode?
Yes.
It goes good, except for that one little thing, but you'll find out.
That's good.
Do we also?
We were talking before we hit record. A couple things. One, Lower Decks season, the complete series on Blu-ray, and the other thing was our love of Billy Joel.
I feel like I voiced that upon everybody. That was completely random. I was actually listening to U2 on my phone, and it cycled through as I was setting up my computer and my mic and everything. And by the time I got on, I had to run down and get my earbuds, and Billy Joel was playing, and it hit a chord like Billy Joel does with most folks. Hit a chord. Long Island's own Billy Joel. So I'll always. I'm thrilled. Just like Charles, you think there's too much content here on Treksploration. Thank you for that, by the way, because I feel like we don't do nearly enough production, or as we should anyway. I'll be in our both like, we failed again this week.
Yes, we only did 3 hours this week. We got to do better next week.
Right.
Like it comes in spurts. Sometimes there'll be like a bunch at a time. And then
you got to make hay while the sun shines, Linda. That's it,
Yeah.
So we got to.
When we were trying to catch up for the finale of Lower Decks, it was crazy. We did so much
that we had
Nobody
to
could
do.
have watched it.
Yeah. That was the issue. Was everything was going on in real time, so we wanted to be as relevant as possible. I mean, relevant is in air quotes, of course, but it's because how relevant are we? To finish the Billy Joel thing, they have the new, but the return of the Billy Joel channel on Sirius XM. So I've been listening to that a lot too. So it'd probably be on for a little while. I think that it's just fantastic that we have our crew of intrepid Treksplorers here with us. And like Albie said, we set the link out to all of the others that have been or currently are on our Patreon site. One thing that we are going to change as we go forward, we just think it's best for the show and for building the Q profile. Is that what you call it? Like the Q quotient? What is it?
The Q.
I don't know.
The Q continuum of the show. The omnipotent Willard continuum.
The
of the
Omnipotent
show.
Willard. I'm learning the algorithm and how it works. So apparently, our videos don't get suggested unless we have at least 3.1 comments per 100 views.
So we'll probably start shunting all discussion to the YouTube channel going forward.
Right.
Just so that we can build our audience a little bit better. And then with that, honestly, Patreon's great and all that, but I feel like we've been trying there for a little while and we're not getting the response that we want because Patreon, you have to go to it. Whereas people are probably seeing us on YouTube, let's just comment there. Let's just make it all there. And then if you want to go to Patreon for and more, we'll figure that out as we go.
And even if you comment like "nice hair tonight, Chris" or something, it still counts as engagement.
I don't
know. You had that Mirror Universe beard going, right? A couple episodes ago.
Yeah, I did. I had a really full like Pike in Montana beard a couple hours ago, but I just took care of it. It was ridiculous, but it was like a depression beard. But I don't think I was depressed, so I grew a beard. I think I had a beard, so I felt depressed.
I thought it made you look like a pirate. It was pretty awesome.
Well, that's what I said. I seemed like a homeless pirate, but I guess most pirates are homeless, right? I don't know.
Oh, I mean, they're on
They're
the
on a
boat.
ship.
Yeah,
They live at sea.
So, I mean, when the sea is your home, are you ever homeless?
But it's kind of like one of those things they say, like if you get dressed in the morning in active wear, you might be more active. Whereas if you're in sweats, you're just going to lay around all day. But I don't know if you dress for what you planned or you just end up doing for what you dressed. But I found with the beard, I just didn't want to go out. I didn't want to be seen.
So, Albie, when they say dress for the job you want, not for the job you have, apparently your job is homeless pirate.
Homeless pirate sometimes, and the other times it's captain of a starship. The USS Picard.
I've taken down bigger men than you, Picard.
You Picard? But the captain of the Treksploration is Captain Charles from Texas. Are you going to buy the complete series of Lower Decks on Blu-ray?
So I hadn't thought about it. Like I was said before we started, I kind of hang on to my streaming services. I don't turn them on and off or whatever. So I'm always betting that I'll continue to have access to it as long as I have Paramount Plus. Now I thought that for the film series, and then a couple times they've shifted that over to Max, and I think it went over to Prime. Now it's back. So that may start happening with some of these streaming series. I know Peacock, I think is. I don't think you can get new Quantum Leap season 1 on there right now.
I don't think any Quantum Leap, and I just found out about that right before we recorded.
Classic has been gone for a while.
Oh wow!
So why do I even pay for it? Why do I have it? I don't know.
That being said, I might do it. What's funny is I'm very much a believer in physical media. I mean, any of the Trek films that have come out, all the the Marvel ones that I choose to get, Star Wars, I'm always grabbing the 4K. I think also I'm convinced it's higher quality, and plus you don't have to worry about them shipping it off somewhere. So yeah, I don't know yet.
Okay, Willard, I noticed you buy a lot of the complete series. Are you gonna get Lower Decks?
Already pre-ordered it about 2 weeks ago.
Awesome.
And the moment I heard about it, I got right on Amazon and pre-ordered it.
That's good. It's not so bad. What is it? $50, $58, something like that?
Yeah, I think it was, something like that. It's not too bad.
My thing is I bought all the seasons already. So do I just buy season 5 and I have a complete set, or do I want the complete series? I saw it came with like maybe a printed autograph card. I don't think they're real autographs for $58.
Yeah. I always wait until and buy the series sets, because then you get all the extras that they, like the Voyager of Discovery, has a whole extra disc in it.
Oh wow!
With extras, and
that's why Albie's not buying it.
So maybe for completion, I should buy season 5 and the complete series.
You are their favorite customer. You sucker, you.
They saw me coming.
You know
if
it.
only I didn't see that episode of Cat's Paw when I was 8 years old.
Oh.
I would have saved so much money. Linda, are you into physical media?
I am not really. I mean, we have some old DVDs. We don't have a Blu-ray player. We don't have a 4K TV. We're just kind of still in the Stone Age a little bit, but I still have my VHS player. I'm kind of hanging on to some things.
Awesome.
I have one that works. But no, I don't think so. Maybe in about 10 years, who knows?
Right. When 4K is obsolete, then you'll get it to go next to your VHS player. Yeah, right.
Oh, look, I finally have 4K TV. Let's get some 4K stuff.
All right. They'll have the holographic versions out by then, but what do they call that? They call that back cataloging or recataloging, when you have to buy the same media that you've had for years.
Yeah.
Double dip, triple dip.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. Stuff like that. I'm a quadruple dipper, whatever. I have them on every format.
How many copies have you purchased of the original series and movies.
Yeah, I only have, I think, 5 of the original series on Betamax, but I'm looking at this auction with the complete series on Betamax, and I'm like, I know I'm never gonna watch it on Betamax, even though I have a Betamax player, but I still want it.
Probably find one.
Yeah, I still want it. It's crazy. They look the same as a VHS, except the inside's different. I guess it's easier for them to make the standard packages. A lot of Betamax had the VHS package with just a little thing inside. Speaking of a little thing inside, Christopher, what were you going to say?
It's my little light. I'm going to let it shine. I'm going to let it shine all over you, whether you want it or not. You all have Zoidberg. Yeah, it's fun to me that we have everybody on and talking about like complete series. We always talk about episodes, but we, Albie, have gone back and forth about Lower Decks. Anyway, you know me, it's like a roller coaster. So I haven't really rewatched the entire series. I'm curious to know where everybody is coming from for this series ending retrospective as far as your Lower Decks fandom. Is it something that you've been keeping up with since day one? Is it something that you've forced yourself to catch up with, not just for this, but just so that you could be the completist that you are? We talk a lot, me and Albie, about our fandom when it comes to a lot of the live Trek, but I don't know that we've spoken to our Treksplorers about how they feel about it. Maybe Charles a bit, but why don't we start with Charles? Like, where do you stand on Lower Decks? And was this watching this last season? Was it something you forced yourself to do to catch up, or have you been LDS fan from the beginning?
I've been a fan from the beginning, and luckily my wife and kids love it too. We've watched it since the beginning. Watched every episode as soon as it hit Paramount Plus. So to me, where I've come from was that I felt, and you've heard the creators say this, I see it as a giant love letter to Trek. It's funny, you'll be watching an episode and all this crazy stuff's going on, and then all of a sudden, the last 5 or 7 minutes, you're like, you get all concerned, what's going to happen, everything, and you're like, I'm watching a Star Trek episode. There's this ridiculous things going on, but I'm getting as stressed out as I would at any DS9 or next episode as far as what the outcomes are going to be. At its heart, I felt that it after it got past the silliness, in it, there was at its core, there was usually a good Trek story in there. Where I found it challenging is the one weak area in my knowledge of the whole thing is in the animated series. There'd be stuff in there like, I don't know what the hell that is. Giant Spock skeletons, and I did know about the 3-armed dude. Can't remember the Chekhov replacement from
that's Arex, Arex.
Yeah. But so we watched it from the beginning, and we were sad to see it go. I do have a question later about the koala. I want to see if people did something. But anyway, we can talk about that in a minute.
How about you, Willard? Are you a dyed-in-the-wool LDS fan, or?
If it's Star Trek, I'm a fan. I have yet to meet a Star Trek I didn't like. Varying degrees, but I like Star Trek. So as far as Lower Decks, I watched it from the beginning, watched it every week religiously when it came out. Like Albie, I think most of them I probably watched right when they dropped to the tree. Sorry, I'm hearing a humming. I'm not sure if it's coming from you guys or if it's in my house.
That's just the ambient soundtrack in my head. I'm sorry.
The call is coming from within the house.
It's a call.
I think it might have been my phone vibrating. Actually, like I said, I keep my hearing aids muted. No, 90% of the time, so I'm not used to noises.
Yeah, they can pick up things across the house. Yeah.
How come I feel like you're data with an emotion chip?
Thank you.
Part cyborg.
Anyway, you were asking me about Lower Decks. Watched it religiously every week, and when it was out, and sad to see it go too. I am planning on rewatching it, but not until I get to it in chronological order. Currently, I'm at the beginning of Next Generation.
Oh, so you got a while. Wow.
Well, I
6 years.
stopped Next Generation when you guys started up Treksploration, so I could follow along with you guys, and then I didn't follow along. I got behind with all my other shows, and then you guys started doing this one episode from a different series every time, which is great, but it's kind of hard to watch the show in chronological order that way.
I had to ditch my chronological rewatch as well when Albie said, "Do you want to do Treksploration?" I'm like, okay. So I guess I'll go back to season 1 of Next Gen. How about you, Linda? How have you been? I see that you're cosplaying. For those listening on the Patreon podcast feed, Linda
badgie.
She's got a badgie and an LDS style tunic.
I don't know if you guys remember, but I hadn't even seen the series when you first started talking about it. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I went and binged the whole thing in a couple of weeks. So I never would have watched it if it hadn't been for you guys. So thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, so you went from like, what's that? I don't need it to
it's like, oh,
now I'm cosplaying it. So
yes.
Wow.
So I guess that leads to a much bigger question, because most Star Trek fans, if it's Trek, you're going to watch it just to be the Trek completist. So are there other series in Star Trek that you have not watched just because you're not interested? Like, where do you sit on that fandom spectrum?
I haven't watched the animated series. It's on Paramount Plus now. My husband watched it without me, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. I'm gonna give Prodigy a try. I've never watched it, and I don't know if I'll like it, but I'll try it.
Yeah, we got to put a pin in that. I'd be very interested to see what you think of Prodigy. So I'm just going to glean from what you're saying. My inference is that you're not really an animation fan. And even if it's Star Trek, it might not be enough to get you to watch XYZ because it's not something you would normally watch. Is that accurate or...
Well, I am kind of interested in the animated series because, I know that some of those are like some of the original scripts that they never used. So even though it's, it's that old style animation I remember from when I was a kid, Saturday morning TV. It'll be kind of nostalgic then, so it'll be, I'll watch it just to kind of know what's going on. The Prodigy, I'm not sure. That one seems like it's more for kids, but I don't know. I'll look. I work with kids, so I'm a kid at heart.
For me, I would say stick with Prodigy. I think it was sold as a kid's show, but while you're watching it, it slowly evolves into the show that the creators of the show wanted to do, I think. And by the end, it's totally the show they wanted to do but couldn't do. And they had to get there by selling it to Nickelodeon and it being a kid's show. But it's worth...
So it was originally on Nickelodeon?
And...
it was on
Paramount Plus, right?
Yeah, they sold it, I think, for Nickelodeon. It was like a Nickelodeon production with Paramount. So they sold it as a show to run on both platforms.
That's right. It's perfectly kid safe. It's a little dry, a little slow, a little not interesting for me in the first season. But by the time we get
infuriating, a little Star Wars, a little
But towards the end, I was all in, and like I don't want to spoil it, so I just say watch it.
I do want to say
compare it to. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Willard.
No, I would like to say first of all, I don't know if Chris and Albie watched the same show I did, because I loved Prodigy from day one, episode 1. Second of all, Prodigy to me was more of a jumping on point for new fans. So they started it out when it first starts. The main characters don't know anything about the Federation, so as they learn, the fans learn. So I think it's great for not just kids, but adults who want to get into the universe but don't know where to start. It's a great jumping on point.
How about you, Charles? I know that we have yet to even do our first retrospective of the first episode of Prodigy, but I guess since we're talking about Trek animation in general, where do you stand on animation and Trek animation?
So the fact that I haven't watched the animated series is more laziness on my part than an aversion. I've watched them, and the ones I've watched, I've enjoyed. The music is a little cringe to me. It's a little dated. It's just a constant track playing. It's more of a nitpick. But I do own them, and I plan on watching them. For Prodigy, I watched that from the beginning. My kids kind of, it's funny, not my kids, I'm talking about my kids, they're 24 and 19. But they kind of bailed, and my wife would, there's shows that, I don't know about those of you who are married, have partners. There are shows that my wife will watch with me, but it's watching while she's browsing her phone, so she's kind of spending time with me. And so that was one of those. However, every one of those each one of those 2 seasons, when you get to the last 4 episodes or whatever, she's putting the phone down and watching. Prodigy I really enjoyed because don't want to give too much away, but having watched Voyager, you get rewarded a lot. And then season 2, there's other stuff in there that's just, I was pausing and pointing stuff out, and it was a lot of fun.
I was jumping off the couch.
Yeah, I mean, there are some moments where like, okay, this is for the kids. I'll turn my brain off and kind of glide through it. But when they did a deep cut, they did their homework, and I really enjoyed it. So as far as animation is concerned, I kind of look at Prodigy almost as Star Trek's Rebels, right? The Star Wars Rebels. It's almost that same kind of level, I think. So I don't know if anybody watched Star Wars Rebels or what have you. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I've watched enough of it to know. So yeah, I'm good with animation.
For me, what I liked most about the first season of Prodigy is that Serenity actually enjoyed it, because I didn't share my opinion on it after we watched, I think, the first 2-parter was it that aired, and I kind of looked over and I was like, so what do you think? And she's like, I love it. And I was like, okay, we love Star Trek, good. So I supported that, and I watched it, and it's weird because I watched like Disney, I watched kids shows growing up. Of course, she watched all the kids shows, so Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, all the way up to what she watches now, which I think we're doing Big Bang Theory. But I enjoyed all that along the way. I just, for some reason, I didn't quite connect with the characters. I liked Rock Talk, I liked Jenkum Pog, and of course Janeway. But it was worth the investment, and it's not that bad. I mean, how many episodes are there total? Maybe like 20 something.
A million.
No.
It
Season 2 has
season
20,
1. 20 episodes per season.
20? Okay.
Half an hour. It's like 10 episodes.
Yeah, they're kind of short.
Yeah.
Very bingeable.
Well, they owed them with a break. They did 10 episodes the first half of the first season, and then they had a break, and then they did the second half.
But
imagine typical pattern in animation, right? I've seen that more than once.
Imagine a Star Trek show since the 90s where you're saying we have a 20 episode season.
Yeah. I know.
Right?
Let a story actually bake and
it's unheard of at this point.
Have some one-offs,
Right. And it has to be Prodigy. Okay. Anyway,
but they got to the good part a lot sooner than some other Star Trek series. So, good on them.
All right.
Is that our next bonus show, Chris? I think
that's our next bonus show, Lost and
Prodigy.
Found. I think we'll probably do both, even though they split the premiere episode into 2 parts. They have part 1, part 2. I think it'd be remiss if we didn't do the entire.
Yeah, it's just one story, I believe. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in much more detail. I think we're here for LDS though, Lower Decks.
Going back to Lower Decks,
Yeah,
you mentioned you watched it with your kids, Captain Charles. I always watched it with Serenity, but I was fortunate enough to where I think it came on Wednesday night, like at 3 a.m. Thursday morning, and I didn't get her back till a couple days later, like maybe that Saturday morning. So there was one episode that I re-edited before she watched it, and it was the one with like the naked party in the bar. Yeah, I was like, I let her watch some stuff because because I was a kid in the 80s, so we watched R-rated movies when you're like 7. That's what it was, but it's a different time now. So I clipped that one a little bit, made it shorter. I let her know it was an edited version, so she wasn't surprised if she ever watched it again. But other than that, I think it was pretty much okay for kids.
Yeah, mine again. I call them my kids. They're 24 and 19, so they're okay.
Yeah. So They shouldn't be seeing that. It could scar them.
Yeah.
But that points up an
All
interesting.
the horror films my wife has made them watch over the years, they're done.
Just talking about like animated series, the sensibility of doing an animated series for adults in Star Trek is quite groundbreaking, and one that I don't know that I was on board with as I was getting to know Lower Decks, mainly because of my aversion to shows like Family Guy. I mean, Simpsons, of course, is classic. Rick and Morty has, some of the best writing I've ever seen on television. But then you go to stuff like Family Guy, which to me personally is somewhat vulgar, very derivative, can be very funny, but at the same time is not an aesthetic that you would think to bring to the Star Trek milieu. So it was always for me a heavy lift, plus the fact that I'm not lukewarm on animation. When I like animation, I love it. But the animation stuff that I choose to watch for me is it's like few and far between. And I don't know why. It's just there's something that needs to grab me. And most animated shows don't do it, even for properties I like. I've been trying to get through Creature Commandos to get with James Gunn's new DCU, the new cinematic universe, because I love DC. And I'm still having a problem getting through that. So animation for me is very touchy. So forcing myself in many ways to sit down and watch Lower Decks because it's Star Trek is where I came from. And as I've said on the show many times before, my relationship with the show has been lukewarm at most throughout its run. It's had its highs, it's had its lows, but that's why I'm really interested to know where in this territory in Star Trek that we've never really been before. It's funny we talk about the animated series, but the animated series was, quote, a kid show, but they wrote that like the original series. That is not a kid show. That is just Star Trek.
It was smart.
Yeah, they weren't trying to nail a specific audience. They were just doing Star Trek, where Lower Decks is a much more concerted effort to bring in a certain type of viewer, to do a certain type of show. And I think that's where we're getting now different when it comes to Star Trek. We're trying to do this genre now and put this Star Trek patina on it. So I'm curious to know, like, as people who watch more animation than I do, how successful do you think Lower Decks was in capturing that feeling that they wanted with this, quote, adult animation that's been in vogue for the last 20 years? Adult Swim, think of that, like Adult Swim or whatever, and reconciling that with Star Trek. And I guess I'll start with Linda, because we sort of forced you to watch it.
Well,
right?
If it's a good story, it's a good story. I don't care if it's animated or if it's live action. It grabs if it grabs your attention, it does. And this one, it just, with all of the little Star Trek things here and there, from this series, and there was something from this series, and just all the little things that catch your attention. And then I remember talking to you guys about the music. I just loved the music. It didn't feel like it was a cartoon, especially at the beginning. I will take the Lower Decks theme song over Enterprise anytime.
How nice was that too? In one of the final scenes of the last episode, they played that theme when Rutherford was doing.
I know. I'm sorry, Chris.
It's okay. I'll live. I have faith in the heart, Linda. You can't hurt me.
I like the end part of Enterprise. I like the ending songs, but
that's Archer's theme. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. No. Yeah. So I think that's one thing that Lower Decks actually excels at. If we're going to talk series retrospective, from again someone that came on it a little bit lukewarm, trepidatious about what is it we're actually trying to do here. Are we trying to just grab people and then call it Star Trek, or is this Star Trek? What you're talking about, Linda, the cinematic quality of the animation, and especially the soundtrack in this last season, has been equal to any of the feature films that I've seen, and I feel like they've gone over the top with some of the realism on the exterior shots in the animation. They look almost photorealistic in this last season, and I think that is a definite evolution from where the show began. The show is a lot more cartoony. It still is in many respects, the interior stuff, but the exterior stuff is as good as we've seen on any Star Trek.
Look at the DS9 episode. How beautiful the station looked in that one. I mean, it looked fantastic in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we finally got DS9 rendered in HD the way we've always wanted to see it outside of What We Leave Behind, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
Didn't they start the series before it was like, didn't they start it when it was around the pandemic time? So they didn't have as much time and effort to put into it. And now they're able to do more with it now at the end. Is that you think that's why it's so much better now than it did at the beginning?
Well, I think just my thought and opinion that I've thought of over the years is it did start during the pandemic, so people were recording at home, and also the animators were animating at home. So I think, you can have a top of the line home PC, but it's nowhere near the maybe tens of thousands of dollars as the PCs that they actually use for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think Jack Quaid was even. I think there was an interview on the Ready Room, which I have thoughts on as well for later. He was saying that he was having recorded lines in a hotel closet or something at one point.
Yeah.
Had to isolate himself.
They did such a good job with the editing on that, because it always sounded like they were in the same room, but
yeah, isn't that crazy? Most animations exactly that way. They're never there together.
It's very easy when the only direction you get, especially in season 1, is more shouty. Yeah. Okay, this will mix together just fine.
Scream!
Did you guys see the behind the scenes? I think it was on either the Star Trek channel or the Paramount Plus channel on YouTube, where they did like the phony behind the scenes of the recording of the episode, and they just get Jack Quaid to scream repeatedly like the whole time. It's very funny. And there's a Lower Decks lunchbox.
Yeah, I saw a montage of all his different screams.
Yeah. So I want that lunchbox, and I looked and can't find it. But yeah,
my favorite Boimler scream is the one that's broken up by the transporter beam.
Yeah,
that's when he was transporter cloned.
I think Lower Decks nailed it. I'm a fan of Family Guy, Chris, so we differ on that one. But
and Family Guy can make me laugh, and I did like it when it first started, but it just became very samey in the sense that it had a formula, and it was very sort of non sequitur humor, which is fine. But for me to sit through 20 years of that is tough. And one thing I can say about Lower Decks, if that's sort of the vibe, or at least the audience they were trying to capture in the beginning, it transcended that almost immediately. It really isn't that. They sort of lured you in by making you think that it would be something like that, or more akin to a Rick and Morty. But it really is its own thing. And I guess that's, if we're doing like a series retrospective, maybe I'll ask Willard this. I know you like everything Star Trek. Is there anything that you think that Lower Decks especially excelled at in terms of Star Trek? And I guess the converse of that, someplace where you think it kind of fell down a little bit, again, in terms of Star Trek or just in itself?
Good question. I think the legacy characters, going back to into the past, not just for the nostalgia for us, but for how they handled the storylines. Not just the latest one, at the end of the season, second last episode, but the others they've done throughout the series. I think they did a good job with that. As far as where they fell down, I don't know. I really don't. I can't think of anything right off the bat. I liked all the episodes. I can't think of anything I didn't like.
Okay. I mean, that's a valid answer. I always like to ask the converse, because sometimes when we as Trek fans, we tend to want to like what we see. So I always just try to cast a little bit more of a weather eye on things, just to maybe spark some dialogue about, okay, we all come from a place of love and respect and adoration, but let's see where maybe some of the seams are showing or whatever. And that doesn't mean that I'm looking to nitpick. It just, I find that it broadens the conversation in a productive way, because it'll lead you down avenues. This is Chris, production behind the scenes 101. But just so that, when we discuss these things, it's not just samey. Oh, I loved it. It was great. Yeah. Oh, I get enough of that from Albie. So.
Yep.
Well, I mean, just as proof that, I like Star Trek, but there are stuff I don't like. The last Star Trek Next Generation movie that I don't even bother to remember the name of, and Star
Nemesis.
Trek 5.
Yeah, they don't.
Thank you.
I don't think it's quite like Nemesis either.
They need to.
If Willard forgets the name of
that or
Nemesis, does that mean we all forget the name of Nemesis? Because he is
I
omnipotent.
wish I had that
omnipotent,
power,
not
Chris.
omniscient.
I may be omnipotent,
The
but
omnipotent word.
that's beyond me.
So I guess I'll throw that question to you, Charles. Like sort of that, some of the highs that you think, some where it really succeeded in what it tried to do, and maybe someplace you wish it had done better, or if you thought fell short.
Yeah. So, the highs, I think, from a humor standpoint, I love the fact that the Packlids were the big bad for the season. I thought that was fantastic. But I think, like I said before, most of the episodes, when you've got this candy coating of silly shenanigans around the real Trek story, and after Mariner stops yelling at Boimler for whatever, and she gets into Mariner mode, serious Mariner mode, stuff gets done, and the problem solved or whatever, or fill in Boimler or Tendi or Rutherford or whatever. I think most of the episodes were a good, there was a good Star Trek core there. The other thing I love too, and this is a total nitpick, I love that we have phaser beams back instead of little bursts. But that's a nitpick for the more modern series. I don't know why we can't go back to beams. But Lower Decks achieved that. I think the low point for me was actually, it's interesting, it's the episode that Albie was talking about. I thought that was unnecessary. That was one thing I was a little cautious, a little wary of. I like Rick and Morty for Rick and Morty. Mm-hmm. When I knew the creator he was part of Rick and Morty, right, Mike? So I was a little concerned it was going to crank that dial up too much, and I was pleasantly surprised. There were a couple times they went a little too far, like that episode. So that's the only one that I could really think of.
Can you just elaborate on which episode you're talking about? And when you say Rick and Morty, when I think Rick and Morty, I think very existential / nihilistic in many ways.
That's the good part about Rick and Morty, but they can also get there's a little raunch factor sometimes in Rick and Morty, and I think that Lower Decks, that one episode, I can't remember its name, Albie, you're gonna have to.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, there were a couple of episodes. There was one with the Mugatu also.
Yeah. What's interesting is I found that just humorous, but I didn't feel like it was extraneous or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though, is most of that launch stuff, there was even some language. They bleeped it out in the later seasons, but at the beginning they didn't bleep out language. There was language and the launch stuff, but it was in the first couple of seasons. I think they realized that the Star Trek audience that's not what they're looking for. We don't mind a little bit of launch, a little bit of R-ratedness. Yeah. We don't need that kind of level that they had in the first.
When it serves the story and it's fun, it's cool. But I think again, that one episode I felt went a step too far. That was it.
I'm looking for the episode name, but
yeah, it's hard to find them. I still don't know it well enough to remember. Oh yeah, the
Naked Lunch, Naked Time.
Yeah,
but not. I don't know.
So I think. Yeah, I think that's probably, hopefully that answers your question, Chris. I think that's a word on that.
And I feel like Linda might have an especially unique take on this because, Linda, you binged it in such a short time where we've
Season 2, episode 8, I Excretus. It's the one where he's in the simulation.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. But I feel like Linda might have a little bit more of a unique spin on this because she watched it all in such a compressed time. Whereas, like, for me, I've been watching it since the beginning, and I don't know what the hell happened in season 2. It's Lower Deck season 2? Question mark. So did you notice, Linda, as you were watching the show come together specifically, or like with me, a lot of the problems that I had with the show is sometimes the characters, especially Mariner, would backpedal in their growth depending on the needs of the plot. And then I hear other people saying that upon rewatch, the character arcs are a lot more solid than you might remember having them dribbed and drabbed out over various seasons over many years. So I'm curious to know your take on that, in addition to the other long-winded stuff I asked about earlier.
Well, I think that there is something with that show is that you do really have to rewatch it. If you're just watching it once, if you're the casual viewer like I am, and you're just watching it once and it's just kind of, okay, yeah, that was interesting, that was good. And you might catch a few things here and there. In order to really, really appreciate it, you need to go back and you need to listen to the whole thing. I mean, you have to watch it again. And that when you guys were pointing out all that stuff, I remember in one of the episodes where they went to the store, and you're just like, oh, you saw this and this, and it's like, I had to go back and look at that because I didn't notice any of that stuff, and I probably wouldn't have if I wasn't, listening to you guys. But it does. It's like, if you're just kind of casually watching it, it's all right. And it's kind of funny here and there. But if you really, and I don't know if they did that on purpose. They probably did that on purpose. Oh, they're going to have to go back and rewatch it again and again and again, which are what Star Trek people do, don't they? Sometimes.
Yeah. I think they made it with that in mind, knowing that we'll watch it how many 18 times. So always find something new in it. Yeah. So
that's probably why you're not appreciating a lot of things, and you're saying, I didn't really like that part too much. But if you went back again, you might see it again in a different light. And I have only watched the episodes once. I did go back and read a little bit about it and of the stuff that I missed. So it was a cartoon. It was enjoyable. I watched it. It wasn't like I wasn't forcing myself to watch this. I've had shows like that where it's like, I'm just watching it just because I started the series and I have to finish it. I don't really enjoy it very much, but I have to finish it. I did enjoy it. But there were a couple of episodes that I was just like kind of going through. Okay, that one's done. Let's move on.
For me, that was the Flash seasons 7, 8, 9, and 10. Maybe 5 and 6 too.
Jeez. You're gluttons for punishment, right? We all stuck with the Flowerverse way longer than we should have. 9
was rough. I would just say that some directors and producers, they could deal with the pandemic. The folks on that show could not. It was the pandemic ate their lunch as far as production and how they filmed it, and the story,
and they were sketchy to begin with. So
that's right. It was already thin.
I guess what you're saying, Linda, and maybe some of what I've felt watching. I feel like Lower Decks is such its own thing, that it approaches Trek in such a different way, that it gets away with a lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally see in Trek. So are there conventions or moments in Lower Decks that bump you, that are uniquely Lower Decks, where you feel it works in context for the show, but not necessarily translating into the larger Trek universe, because it is such an outlier? It is so, as much as they have the homages, as much as they have the Easter eggs, as much as they have the skeleton of the giant Spock from the Infinite Vulcan, all of that stuff is canon. But at the same time, people have been looking askance at the animated series Is it canon? Is it not canon? We don't know. If you want it to be canon, it's fine. They're firmly saying Lower Decks is canon. So where do we land with some of the stuff that is so outlandish? Like, there are just things in Lower Decks that I've seen that I can't imagine working with the rest of Trek, even though they've had DS9 characters. All the legacy stuff that they've done has been fantastic for the most part, but it's still just, there are just things in Lower Decks that will not work in live action Trek, in my opinion. Albie, where do you stand? I know you love it. I know you're great, but where do you stand on that as far as like Trek on the whole? Where does this lie for you? Is it a quasi outlier or?
To me, it just goes along with everything else, and it's definitely canon, and it feels like it could be live action, and that would be fine. I think I enjoy the humor more because it's animated. Maybe that's a different part of my brain that's been conditioned by like adult animation over the years to where maybe I don't take it as seriously. Like if they did a live action show like that and said some of the jokes, I might have been offended to where this is just a cartoon, so I laugh and giggle. But I think they really did a good job making it all fit in and make sense. I don't think they did anything that like betrayed canon in any way. Mm-hmm. I think they actually are people that love Star Trek and actually took the time to make it so it could be included in the Star Trek universe. So.
It's interesting about canon, right? Is it didn't betray canon, but could you carry everything that happened in? Would you see, some of the most outlandish things? Would you see, if they made a season 4 Picard and Riker talking about, hey, remember that stuff we read about that happened on the Cerritos and XYZ. It's almost like canon sometimes only monodirectional, and that it absorbs the canon, it does something with it, and we might pick and choose what comes out and is reflected in the other series. Like I wonder sometimes about canon where it may have been canon, but it's never mentioned again. So is it still canon? I don't know.
But what of
I see what
Lazarus?
you're saying,
yeah.
Yeah, but that's, so I guess what I'm hearing here is that maybe my point is proven because it's an animated series of the style that it is. You guys are giving it a grain of salt. Like you're giving it sort of a pass when it comes to some of the more outlandish stuff, just because that's the nature of this show.
Yeah, I think so. And it also, because it didn't betray any canon at all, in fact, it embraced what came before it, I think it earned it that pass, because then it could take it and run with it, right? But then it was done in the context of that show, and it's okay if we never see it again. We had a good time. So I think it's interesting. I wonder if that adherence to what came before earned it a little bit of credit, and the fact it's animated and you can get away with it.
I like your point about if it's going to be mentioned anywhere else. Like they mention the Enterprise on the Cerritos, but will they ever mention the Cerritos anywhere else? And is there really a California class? And why California class? Is there? I've never heard of it anywhere else. Did they have it somewhere else? Did they talk about it in any other series?
Not yet.
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, I would think the live action crossover with Strange New Worlds gives it all the credibility and it answers all those questions.
That's the only place I've ever heard it. Is I was thinking of the crossover, and in fact, they actually mention a lot of stuff that they do as actors.
Oh,
cool. When they were talking about, do they always talk like that to each other? And the bickering.
Your conversations
have a lot of caffeine.
Allegorical. I can't remember what this.
I have to say, though, I mean, when you talk about sensibilities, I feel like Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds are almost a perfect crossover property, because as much as Strange New Worlds is TOS prequel, it has a much more cavalier sensibility to it than the original series. The original series was always a little bit more militaristic, a little bit more drama of the week, where Strange New Worlds is naturally, because it's a show now, more of a character-driven drama, workplace comedy. So it surprised me how readily the live-action Boimler and Mariner fit in to the Lower Decks. It didn't bump me at all. And seeing Jack and Tawny doing their roles live it was almost no difference, which I guess shows you how much they've embodied those characters. Maybe it's just because we know them by voice, really. What you're seeing is just a cartoon. So they're just as good live as they are animated. So I guess that's a long way of me saying that it surprised me how well it jived with what real action or motion, whatever non-animated
live action.
That live action. Thank you, live action. I would get there. I'll get there eventually.
Billy Joel.
Yeah, right. Live action. It wasn't as egregious and like just off the wall as I thought it was going to be. So I guess that gives me hope. But again, you're talking about two very separate types of show. Could I see Mariner and Boimler on season 3 of Picard? I don't think so. Or even season 1 or 2, even though we probably shouldn't speak of those
contrast to just see Jack and Tawny being themselves, like hyped up on caffeine, and everybody in Picard just doing the same thing they do on Picard, just very, very like dramatic, and everything's important, and just like the counterbalance, I think would be good.
I can almost see them trying their best to be on their best behavior, but failing miserably. So they're hanging out with Picard. Right. Of course, got to be serious, but
Boimler getting hung up in something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They would just be like, "Why is everybody so serious?"
Right? It's funny to me because maybe that also speaks to an evolution of the way we see, society. You think about like back in the 50s, 60s, the mindset that the original Trek came from, that mid 20th century patriarchy, militaristic, America first kind of mindset has evolved now. Like we don't look for those sort of action Western cowboy hero types anymore. And I guess Lower Decks being a product of this time, the juxtaposition between that and Strange New Worlds is a lot, like I said, it's a lot easier to reconcile. But you also have the fact that you have Boimler and Mariner as a proxy for us, being fans saying, "Oh, see that and remember that, isn't that great?" And they do that a lot on Lower Decks. But when they're actually with those old scientists, when they do the crossover episode, in my mind, that's an episode of Lower Decks. I know it's an episode of Strange New Worlds, but to me, that's a Lower Decks episode. That's how
Boimler and his power walk. I love that.
Right.
But like what you said, it's interesting what you said about Boimler and Mariner kind of being us. I mean, the whole whenever on the penultimate episode, Mariner's like, "Boims, I think that's the ball."
Yeah, that might be my favorite line in all of Lower Decks.
That's how he would react. So. I have acted like that at conventions. I'm like, "Oh my God, she's right there. She's right there. What do I know?" Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go. It's only 10 episodes for season 5 of Lower Decks, so I figure I'll just mention them and anything that shout out anything that you think of or liked or disliked about it. Season 5, episode 1, Dos Cerritos. A spatial anomaly forces the Cerritos crew to face their own faces.
I was happy it wasn't a Mirror Universe episode.
Anybody? Okay. Season 5. Season 5, episode 2, Shades of Green. That's part 2 of that, really, right? The Tendi story. Tendi races to stop a conflict while Boimler and Mariner race to stop capitalists.
I thought that was an interesting one about going to post scarcity and the chaos that ensued. I thought that was fascinating. That's what I liked about the show. Sometimes they would take something that we take for granted and happens in the very background of Trek and blows it up, and that would be one of them. Is that when these worlds joined the Federation, wasn't it? Did they state that they had to abandon sort of capitalism or whatever in order to join. I can't remember if that was the term. I thought they mentioned that in the episode.
I had that memory or impression.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed that one for that. It's interesting. The Orion stuff, I felt it stretched. I don't know. That was one thing for me. It wasn't as interesting to me. I love Tendi and all that, but I just wasn't thrilled to see that part.
I got to say the one thing about, Charles, I think about that episode all the time. Because I discussed it at length when we reviewed it, but just the whole idea of a community or a society going to that post-capitalism, post-scarcity mindset, and how, like, to this moment, like, we are so ingrained with, you go to work and you make it and you buy it, and you, like, the very idea of Trek going the opposite way and then actually seeing how that might play out in a, quote, real world situation fascinated me. And it's the first time that they actually did sort of a deep dive on that aspect of the Federation and the ideal, the Trek ideal. So I think about that episode all the time, and it's just like a silly comedy episode wrapped up in an Orion episode. I have to say, the one thing I do like about what they did with the Orions, even though it is maybe the most maligned, second most maligned episode of Enterprise, they really embraced the twist end of Bound when they revealed that it was the women in the Orion Society that ran the show and that the men were the slaves, which I guess was Enterprise's sort of have your cake and eat it too. Look, oh yeah, it's not the misogynistic piece of shit that you remember from the original series, trading in green animal women. A literal line from the cage. We're going to make it for a modern audience. We're going to turn that convention on its head. And if Lower Decks, at least they tried to run with it in an interesting way.
Yeah. I see that.
All right, episode 3 of season 5, the best exotic nanite hotel. The Lower Deckers hunt for nanites in a hotel that happens to be in space.
Come and knock on our door.
We'll be waiting for you.
I've said too much about that episode already. I'll leave.
That's the Apocalypse Now one. Is that what that one is?
No, that's the one where Beckett doesn't break up with her girlfriend and.
Oh yeah.
I think
and then
that's
Miniature
the one.
Voyager.
Oh,
looking shit.
Yeah.
Just
the sitcom of it. Very sitcom.
It was cool to see Jennifer again. A farewell to farms. An unknown force destroys starships and threatens galactic peace. The USS Cerritos crew isn't important enough for things like that.
I do remember that one had a different beginning, right? Didn't that one start differently than all the rest of them?
Yeah. If we can dig into that one a little bit, if there is one episode this season that I feel has gotten such fan buzz, such positive reaction, it was Farewell to Farms from everybody that I spoke to. So I'm curious to know, I mean, this is, again, something that Lower Decks can do, I guess, because it's animated and they can do anything they want. It's almost like the Peanut Hamper episode, but good. So do you appreciate the fact that no, nobody likes Peanut Hamper. Just stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
Exocomps rule.
This is the one with the farming Klingons, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I'd like to know your take on that. Yeah.
Sort of showing that different aspect of Klingon culture, where it's still honor bound, and you try to be the best farmer you possibly can, or whatever, if you're embracing it. Right. But I did enjoy that part. To see a different sliver of Klingon society, and it's familiar and recognizable.
I guess maybe for me it was the fact that they were taking on sort of the Trek cliche of the monoculture. Every alien society that we ever see is just they're one thing.
Yeah,
and I guess that's allegorical. That comes from the original series. I mean, it's just roots in science fiction, but at the same time, it's not that realistic. So it's nice to see them expand.
Okay, season 5, episode 5, Starbase 80. Ransom uses too much disinfectant gel while Mariner gets paranoid about curses.
Oh yeah, that's the
That I loved that callback.
Yeah.
some of the most awkward scenes in Enterprise. But,
I didn't mind that. See, that had some nudity, but it wasn't nudity. It was just partial nudity. But one of my favorite lines is, "I'm such a T'Pol."
I have to say that might be one of my favorite episodes of Lower Decks, period. I just loved Starbase 80. I loved everything about it. So that's where they really knocked it out of the park for me. Not just because of all the TOS stuff and all the callbacks. I really thought it was a fun story with good new characters that I enjoyed watching. It wasn't just like the guests of the week, which I think that Lower Decks can be guilty of. Well, every Star Trek show can be guilty of that, but
I mean, it was the most remote starbase, correct?
it was
Is that true?
So, I don't know about the most remote, but the most neglected. Yeah.
Most neglected. Starbase 80.
Possibly.
Okay, Steve. Yeah, that'd be great. Man, in another universe where we got another season of Lower Decks and Starbase 80.
Right.
It's one of those things. Season 5, episode 6 of Gods and Angles. Mariner teams up with the troubled ensign while the Cerritos host peace talks between civilizations. Orbs and cubes.
Orbs and cubes. You're so square. You're so round. And I loved that the idea that the laurel was just attached to her head. It was just part of her body. I had to go back and watch that episode. My husband's like, "Why are you watching this episode of Star Trek?" I'm like, "I have to watch it. I have to see what happens."
Were you familiar with the episode?
Well, I remembered it. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I had to go back and remind. I'm like, did they mention something? Did he go? I couldn't remember if at the very end he went off with one of the, one of the crew. I was trying to remember because I remember that happened with Khan.
Right.
I'm like, did that happen with Apollo?
No, he just cast himself to the wind.
Yeah, that was.
He went where the others went.
Yeah, I haven't seen that probably in 8 years.
Oh yeah.
I need to rewatch original series again.
That's a super interesting episode of the original series. I don't have very many good things to say about Gods and Angles, so I'll just keep my mouth shut.
Season 5, episode 7, fully dilated. The crew go on a pre-warp society undercover girls trip.
The purple data head, right?
Purple data head.
The purple Enterprise.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
All right, so listen. All right, so now I thought that this would be Fangasm because we got Brent back, playing Data and not a Soong. So
I just agree with some of his choices. You know how I feel about the two people being, the co-science captain or science officers.
Yeah.
And Data suggested that. And I'm like, no, Data, no.
This is not the Data we know. This is purple Data.
That's right. This is purple Data, so I don't know.
Right. And he left his purple chip back on the purple D. That I don't know.
I had a fangasm because it was Brent and Data again, and it wasn't just like Data from Picard and Data, a copy of Data and Data in a computer box somewhere, but it was like Data as close as we could to next gen Data.
Yeah.
But I think his thunder or his wind was taken or stolen by when we had the episode 9 Fissure Quest, when everybody was like, yeah, we had Data, but then there was T'Pol, so then everybody looked at T'Pol and forgot about Data. So it was short-lived fangasm.
Yeah, but T'Pol would have been enough. But you had Andy, and then you had Sid, and you had everybody just came back. I thought it was. Is that the next one after this one?
No, Upper Decks, season 5, episode 8. Lower Deckers take a break to carve pumpkins, which I love. That's why I got a pumpkin behind me. I was asked, why do you have a pumpkin behind you on one of my shows? and I had to say it was an episode of Lower Decks, proudly. They listened to Mariner's tale of an off-screen adventure where she was stuck in a painting. I want to see that episode. That might be a comic book. That'd be cool. I haven't read the comics. Have any of you read the comics?
Crisis, right? Shax was having some crisis back to the...
Oh, yeah. That was good. That was good.
Yeah, this episode, this is one that I kind of just barely watched. It did not hold my attention, although I did like the concept that we were looking at the upper deckers rather than the lower deckers. I did like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think the parts with Shax were interesting just because any time you go back and touch on DS9, Cardassian occupation or whatever, I just soak that stuff up. But the rest of it, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was very interesting to have all those upper deck stories at the same time and kind of showing you what they go through that we're not focusing on. So I'm glad they had it in the series. And it will probably be my most watched episode because I already know I'm going to watch it every Halloween from now on.
That and not Cat's Paw?
Well, Cat's Paw too.
Gotcha. I forgot that you watch everything all the time, every year. So
everything all at once, everywhere in 4K laser beams.
I thought it was
it was a different.
It was an
episode.
Interesting choice in the sense that the show was steadfastly about not doing that, not seeing the command crew, and they painted them with very broad brushes. They were always more caricatures than characters, archetypes that the crew had to deal with. And then to just devote an entire episode to these secondary ancillary characters and try to make us care about them, I thought that was probably, I don't know if it was misguided. I understand what they were trying to do, and maybe they maybe with an eye towards expanding these characters if they were getting a season 6, because what you said, Albie, they didn't know that they were going to be canceled until most of these stories were probably written and broke anyway.
I still don't believe it.
Yeah, but it was a weird choice to me. And like Linda, I don't know that it's an episode that I'd go back to because these are characters that you were told don't worry about them. They're over there. You don't need to care about them. So,
Willard, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, Next Generation had an episode called Lower Decks, which was just the opposite of Upper Decks. I mean, it was we had characters that we admittedly have never not seen before, but we followed these characters for a whole episode, and the Upper Deckers were in the background. So, and of course, that episode inspired this series. So it only made sense that we would get an Upper Deckers episode.
I think what helped that Next Gen episode is we had Cedo, which we'd seen before.
Yeah, that's
Academy episode. I think that helped it. I think in this one, I don't think they had earned it or had the time to really. They probably should have done this a couple times before and given them arcs that we could have gotten spoon fed over the years and then had it come to some conclusion here. I think to have it be a one-off, it's too little, too late, probably.
Yeah, I'll concede that.
Yeah.
If we didn't get a Upper Decks, I think that's one thing. If we don't get any more Lower Decks, that's one thing we would have maybe theorized like. That would have been a good episode. They should have done that. So I'm glad they did do that. And like you mentioned, Willard, it's the same but opposite, like the yang for the episode Lower Decks. Yeah.
It's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm glad they did it. It's one of those things where it's like 3 episodes from the end. So, kind of like not when you wanted it, you wanted more stuff like Fissure Quest. Season 5, Episode 9, fissures must be closed before they get inflamed.
All I can say is T'Pol.
T'Pol.
T'Pol and Curzon Dax. Who came up with that?
Curzon, Garrick, Bashir.
Oh, yeah.
Great
stuff. As great it was
Lily.
As great as it was to see all them, for me, it was Jolene. Never thought we'd see her again. Never thought we'd see her again. So.
Yeah, I think I hope, probably without any chance of this ever happening, but Strange New Worlds, I think she and T'Pol and Phlox probably the only two characters that might have a chance of actually showing up on Strange New Worlds, and I would love to see this opportunity leading to something else for her, because I think
that has been my dream from the beginning of Strange New Worlds is maybe we'll see T'Pol. This is before I knew the story of that she had retired. I hadn't actually had heard that, but
she again. I think the cat suit's got in the way. I think, but yeah, the Fissure Quest was just a buffet of
it was great
cameos.
And yeah,
Lily of all people.
Lily, yeah, that was like
problems with the whole multiverse storyline. I don't know. It seems like a lot of times when these shows put in this multiverse and time traveling stuff, it's like they're trying to do something without having to overthink it. They're trying to put things in, and it doesn't always
matter, right? Is that where you're going with it? Does it have the weight behind it? Is that where you're thinking?
Yeah, I don't know. I just have a problem with multiverse timelines, and then they throw the time travel thing in, and it's like, well, what are we doing? Are we moving parallel? Are we moving up and down? Are we going sideways? I don't know how we're moving, and sometimes it seems like they throw things in without thinking.
Yeah, it should matter, right? Like there should be a reason. And it's very easy to fall into we just can because it's the multiverse. It doesn't matter if people die or live or whatever because that was just that version from that timeline, and then you've stumbled into, well, then as a viewer, what am I investing in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm curious to know. Yeah, that's a good point. You even had Boimler, Beardy Boimler, as like the Greek chorus, pointing out all this stuff, and it does give a sense of banality to a lot of the stakes, because if there's just infinite versions of everybody, then what are you really afraid of? Just go back to Rick and Morty, and I guess Mike McMahon, I don't know if he was instrumental in this because it was a first season episode. I think it was Rick Potion number 9, where they basically destroyed their world, Rick and Morty, with this virus. And then they go to another reality where their counterparts are killed. And they bury these people in the backyard. And
Don't they kill them, or
they
no?
assume they die in an explosion in the garage. They bury them in the backyard, and they are completely traumatized by this.
Morty, he was
Morty especially. And I thought that was one of the most brilliant things I had ever seen. Yeah. And then because it was so real, it was so harrowing. And then as the show goes on, there's infinite versions of everybody, and who gives a crap. Yeah. So it's like it undercut itself. So when you have, to Linda's point, multiverses and time travel, and anybody can be anywhere at any time, does it diminish the stakes? Especially for Star Trek, because how many Star Trek movies and TV episodes hinge on we need to correct the timeline, we need to get this back on track. If you have Lily Sloan from Dimension X come in to, okay, is it really that?
How does that work?
Like we could figure something out, I guess, right? So,
yeah, that's interesting, right? Like, it makes me wonder if that's the direction that certain comic book shared universes have gone, and I wonder if they're suffering from this very thing you're talking about, that it's the stakes aren't there.
At the same time, it's great for fans because it's a lot of fun, because you get to see characters that you know and love in a sort of different light, which is always fantastic. I mean, think of Living Witness, or the only Voyager episode I like.
Oh yeah,
so far.
I have a question about Starfleet Academy for later. If we're going to talk, maybe this is not the episode, but anyway, Living Witness is one. But yeah, but you're right, Chris. And I think before it's been in small doses, like the DS9 Mirror Universe episodes. We got to see different Jennifer, different Tuvok. But then we visited and came back, and it was hard to get there and hard to come. It wasn't just next door. You could just walk next door and.
Oh, DS9, by the end of the Mirror Universe arc, you could. It was like you just turned a corner in DS9.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Just, the deflector dish, anti-protons, whatever, particles.
We figured out this week. We forgot to lock the door to the Mirror Universe this week.
I think the Defiant was the ship in this episode, right? Wasn't? Yeah, it was.
It looked like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Defiant. Yep. Yeah. Or a Defiant.
Yeah.
I think they just said we want to tell a really cool story with the characters we love, and then they figured out a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
So hand wavy, and when it's that good of an episode with the characters that I love so much, I'm okay with some hand wavy.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. My kids would laugh at me sometimes. I'm watching these episodes, like the DS9 episode, this one where I've just got this stupid smile on my face, seeing all these people, and they're laughing. Like, what are you laughing at? You're just enjoying yourself, aren't you? So yeah, I think the serious part, I think the stakes aren't there, but man, it was like you just dumped out the toy box and picked up all your favorite action figures.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. And how dare you, Captain Charles, watch Star Trek and enjoy yourself? Tough room you got over there. Holy crap.
All right. Before we go on break, and we got one more episode to talk about. Season 5, episode 10, the season finale. It still says season finale everywhere, where lots of wild stuff happens. That's a great synopsis.
Yeah.
The new Next Generation. What did you think of the ending thus far?
Well, like I said before, that I liked that it was just the original crew. It didn't do all of the little tricks. It was just the original show, and it just kind of went back to basics, and it just kind of wrapped things up a little bit.
I think that was my favorite part of it. Is the whole show, the whole series has been about Trekdom, I guess. But the fact that the last episode just took it back to just the crew.
Yeah, and their growth.
The crew saving the universe.
And Rutherford turning his corner and embracing, I can't remember. He pulled the implant off, right? Like he let it go.
Yeah.
He just pulled it off.
Yeah, and so I think
for a while.
For an animated series to see growth in these characters over the years come to a head, I think was nice to see. I think the fun. This also had its own crazy fun that didn't make any sense. The whole ship changing different forms. I'm sitting there slinging out the ship classes and like the girls with all in their eyes or whatever. But it kind of reminded me of Year of Hell a little bit with the whole temporal shifts and the ships changing in front of Voyager and all that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But yeah, I thought it was fun. I was sad to see it go. It's interesting. They didn't know that was it, because it felt very much like a series finale to me.
It did.
But you guys know that. You guys found out that they didn't know until they'd written all the episodes.
I think I heard that somewhere. Might have been Trek Culture.
And see, I heard differently. I heard somewhere that they had known close to the beginning. If not, that it was being, that he actually planned the whole season out as the final season. I may be wrong. One of us is wrong.
It'd be interesting. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
No, I just either whichever way it worked, they found some way to meet in the middle, because that was clearly supposed to be a send off. That was clearly a finale. That was not just like, wasn't that a lucky accident?
Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't a cliffhanger.
Yeah. So, it was one that I guess it's almost like mirror image in the sense that if they decide to go on with the show, they'll be able to do more because it sets more stuff up. But it's also a perfect place for it to end.
I had to change tracks there, Chris, for a second. I was like, mirror image.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just
talking to Chris.
Right? So,
I see your hand link back there now.
Again, anytime we talk about any finale of any show, I have to evoke mirror image. Sorry.
Nice try.
It made Upper Decks more important, I think, because we got I think, at least for me, I got a better emotional feeling with the ending of Captain Freeman's arc on the show. So if we didn't get that little bit more about her in this latest season between Starbase 80 and Upper Decks, I don't think it would have hit as well in the finale.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think they did lay some good groundwork, and the fact that they did it through an episode as good as Starbase 80 was I think that we got better character growth from the Upper Deckers in Starbase 80 than we did in Upper Deck. So anyway,
all right,
we got a break.
We got a lot more stuff to talk about. We're going to go back to a couple things that Captain Charles mentioned. We're going to be doing some trivia, so stay tuned for that. We're going to be unboxing some stuff. We're going to have some show and tell, some Trek and tell. We got a lot more stuff to do, and we're going to give a final rating to everyone for the whole series of Lower Decks towards the end. So, Star Trek Section 31, too.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Albie, I interrupted you. You may have to re-record.
No problem. Section 31, too. All right. So we're going to do that right after this break, and we'll be right back. And we're back. Welcome back to Treksploration. This is Captain Charles' Captain's Table. The Captain's Table 2, The Wrath of Chris. The answer, Chris? Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence, yes. Right. No context for you. Answer. Moving on.
Yes, moving on. Captain Charles from Texas. I have to ask, I don't know if I asked this before, but is that an adipose or a moopsie behind you?
Oh, it's a moopsie. My oldest had one, and she said I could borrow it. It's actually going to be my Trek and tell, but I'm glad you saw it way back there.
Moopsie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put the plush out. I think what was it in maybe October, November?
Yeah, she jumped at it as soon as it came out.
Yeah, it's still on the list. Unfortunately, Serenity saw it,
but I didn't have time.
Oh, Serenity saw it online, like an ad came up. I think in the middle of December, I was like, oh, I didn't buy it. So maybe, but she wants it. So maybe her birthday or something, I'll get it for her. And we're back, and we're talking about Star Trek. We just finished talking about Star Trek Lower Decks, the final season so far, and the finale. And we'll rate that later. And we're also talking about Section 31. And Captain Charles has some items to talk about. And I think that's where we're at, right? And we're with Captain Charles from Texas, Listen Linda, Christopher D. Philippus, and the Omnipotent Willard. Chris, where do we go from here?
Section 31 trailer. I want to get a hot take. I don't think we have to discuss it at length. But Willard first.
Section 31. Looking forward to it. Unlike Chris. No, it's going to be a darker take on the Star Trek universe, and I think the universe is big enough for that.
Okay. All right. Captain Charles.
Yeah, so I'm worried. So here's I'm going to step away from it. That movie needs to succeed. So I would hope that everyone who is excited about it and everyone who despises it still watches it 3 times, because from what I've read, this is sort of a pilot for a different format for Trek on streaming. Because if this succeeds, I think it's more likely we're going to get stories that maybe don't fit well into a 10-episode season or series or whatever. And so I want it to succeed very badly. At the same time, we've only seen snippets, so I'm trying not to be judgy as far as these characters. I don't see them. I don't see how they fit. It looks very Guardians to me. But then they throw in a young Rachel Garrett that hope will be cool. It's funny. I had sometimes I see the strangest details, and that translates into things that it probably shouldn't. But in one of the images they released, and I'm not talking about the trailer at all, but anyway, I'll get back to that in a second. But one of the images they released for the production, I noticed one of the consoles had very Enterprise C LCARS buttons on it. It looked like either Enterprise C or Excelsior from Star Trek 6. I'm like, at least they're getting some of the trim right. We better darn well see an Excelsior class ship in this thing, or I'm going to be bitter. But as far as the trailer, it doesn't tell us that much. It just shows these odd characters, and they're going to go do something, and somehow it's associated with Section 31. What I hope that means is that they've got a great story, and they don't want to spoil any of it. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Fingers crossed.
How about you, Linda?
I'm hoping it's kind of that I don't have to go back and watch a lot of other stuff in order to understand it. I hope it's kind of standalone. Because I mean, I kind of know what Section 31 is. I kind of remember Giorgio, or is that how it's pronounced? Giorgio.
Giorgio.
I kind of remember this stuff. I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it at 3:00 in the morning when it drops. When I'm.
Oh, I thought we were going to watch it together, Linda.
You going to call me?
Yeah.
Watching it now. No. So I'm just hoping
it dropped 10 minutes early.
It's not that I'm not looking forward to it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to watch it.
Well, I will add, Linda, that it is taking place in a period of time that we've not seen before. So, hopefully there shouldn't be a lot of canon information we need to know.
Okay, so
this
is it's in the future?
It's
in the Lost Era, so it's between generations.
What they call the Lost Era, which is after the Star Trek movies, the classic Trek movies, and before Next Generation. We haven't had anything in that time period. So that's called the Lost Era.
Yeah, you figure if Enterprise C was lost, 20 years prior to Next Gen beginning, say Captain Garrett was 50, right? This character may be 25, so this may be that's 40, maybe the 2320s or something around there.
Has that been stated, or are we only getting that because of Rachel Garrett?
I'm guessing based on that character's age.
Yeah, that's what everybody, I think, is just assuming, but she might be out of time as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, is it like
I really haven't spoiled too much. I did see a video this morning online where they did release new photos from from the movie.
Yeah, and that's the one that I've seen with the console that seems to at least be quasi compatible with what we expect.
Did one of them look like they were cosplaying a Borg or something?
Yeah, one of the characters is a cyborg named Zeph.
Oh, he's really a cyborg. I thought he was just like putting on like camouflage to go into a Borg cube or something.
According to the character description, he's a cyborg. You got a cyborg, a Deltan, a Comaloid. I'm assuming one of them's human. In addition to Giorgio, or non-modified. I guess the
Deltan I'm excited about.
Deltan are the bald, sexy times. Comaloid are the shapeshifters from Undiscovered Country.
Star Trek
played by one of the guys from Ted Lasso. Can't remember his name.
Was he the one with the contacts?
He's got the orange eyes, just like what was her name?
Iman.
Yeah.
Really quickly, guys, I looked it up. It says that the movie's set in the time when the Monster Maroon uniform was in use. This red uniform was worn from 2278 to 2349.
I was going to say Monster Maroons were in use for 175 years, it seems. So.
Yeah.
Was that 175 years?
No.
But maroon uniform.
Even Picard was wearing the Monster Maroon without the turtleneck.
But they dropped the turtleneck, which it always looked strange to me.
Yeah.
Don't look like they didn't finish dressing or something. I don't know.
Right,
it was a good way to make it of a different time, but still keep it connected to both, I think.
Everybody's sweating to death. Stop making those things.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, those lights were hot back
then. They kept opening the flap. Like, God, I can't breathe in this.
So, I watched the trailer and I was as excited for this as I expected to be, which is not very. One thing that the trailer is supposed to do is get you at least somewhat amped up or interested, and the trailer does absolutely nothing. It's just a series of disjointed images with almost no extraneous information, except for things that bump me, like the let this be your last battlefield alien showing up. I forget Gorshin played what.
Better explain that.
Was, right? So is this like going to be, I was talking before, but Alba, you and I have discussed Millennium before. It was that movie from the 80s with Cheryl Ladd, I think.
Yeah,
they would grab people from plane crashes. so that they could repopulate the future. Is like the whole Section 31 crew, like Garrett, who is supposed to be dead, but they grab her at the last minute. This dude who's supposed to be, is this one of those?
You might have figured it out.
It didn't die in the allegorical episode where they all killed each other.
I think she's too young, though. I think this is a younger Garrett.
Yeah, this is a younger Garrett.
But you're right. I mean, I can't remember the species name from Let That Be Your Last Battlefield.
Frank Gorshin, the Frank Gorshin.
Yeah, the Riddler.
Riddlers.
It was Frank Riddler. Yeah, it was the
monochrome Riddlers.
Yeah,
I think.
So but again,
that bumped me. That one shot bumped me. But I think that's the Comaloid.
But do you think, Chris? Do you think it's? Yeah, it could be. There's a story there they don't want to reveal because if they show anything that we're going to do the math and figure out what this is about, or do you think that their marketing is terrible, or it's a terrible story and that's the best that they could put in the trailer?
I honestly, I don't know.
I'm afraid of both.
My bias lies with the lead of the movie. So no matter, it could be the greatest story ever, but I still have to sit through Michelle Yeoh saying her lines phonetically for an hour and a half. So I really am not a huge fan of her. So I don't have much hope for enjoying this. I will watch it 4 or 5 times, just so that I can maybe get that Con miniseries. But so I'm not the guy to talk to about this. Like the trailer did nothing to persuade or dissuade my opinion or my preconception of what I think this is going to be.
Isn't that a problem though? Because if we're trying to establish this is a Star Trek movie, you've got to anchor it in that. I think their marketing sucks. Their marketing.
I don't think you do. I think what they're trying to do is make it a movie event for Paramount Plus viewers, and the Star Trek thing is ancillary because they want to bring they want that, like you said, that Guardians vibe. They want to bring this. Oh, look at this crew of irascible misfits. And
I don't think
maybe that's.
I don't think anyone's watching this that's not a Trekkie.
There'll be some crossover, but no, you're right. For the most part, you're not going to get,
Even with that, do you think that they're marketing it effectively? I mean, I'm only seeing it in the front of. I've seen the trailer, and I've seen it in front of other stuff I'm watching that's Trek, right? Mm-hmm. Have you seen it marketed anywhere? Like commercials during football games or anywhere?
I don't watch commercials.
Anybody seen it?
Yeah, that's the thing is I don't have network TV, so I'm not really sure that they're doing it during the sporting events.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, Chris, you're in New York, and Linda, she's out west. Are you seeing billboards or bus signs and stuff?
Nope.
I'm not. Honestly, the last time I was in the city was around Christmas, so it was a little early for that. I will give them this. Times Square usually has very prominent Trek ads, depending on whatever it is they're showing. So I wouldn't be surprised to be walking down Times Square and seeing some kind of Section 31 ad, writ large over a building somewhere. Again, I don't know what that does for non-Trek fans.
Yeah, Walmart had a lot of Strange New World stuff for a while. I haven't been there for a while. I don't know if they've switched it out for Section 31 or Pike's still standing there at the entrance.
Interesting. Yeah. Like on the cardboard things over the front door alarms. And I saw it on television boxes. I was actually sending pictures of that to Chris and Allison because they're putting Strange New Worlds on like screens that are maybe like 30 inches, 40 inches. And I'm like, I don't think they know their Star Trek audience because they're going to be, geeks that love TV that are going to get the 98 inch if they can.
5-inch,
yeah. So, but yeah, I really think it's the marketing is just like, okay, this is Star Trek. You people that like Star Trek are going to watch it because it's Star Trek. It doesn't have to be good. You're still going to watch it. We don't have to get you excited. You're still going to watch it.
It's got.
Hopefully, it is good.
At the same time, if it only captures that Star Trek audience, which is again probably going to, some people are going to bail on it or wait because they don't recognize it. I don't know if that's going to translate into the numbers. Like I said, I think this needs to succeed. I think.
I think we're going at this from the wrong angle. I mean, we're always going to look at it as Trek fans. There's just no avoiding that. So this is a very biased crew. We're going to watch it no matter what. I think that where something succeeds, this is where everything things fall down, when they try to make something that is mass market, marketable or whatever, and sell a specific type of product, where everything that is a real success is its own thing, and it's so good that people glom onto it, and then there are a million imitators. See also Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, and you were talking about, you know, a late franchise entry into one of the most mega movie franchises ever made that everybody adored, and it still somehow broke the mold and reinvented the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In many ways for the worse, as the legacy of Guardians goes on. But it was its own unique thing. And it just seems to me that they're trying to pick up on that vibe. So is this so much its own unique thing, or is it a pastiche of something that worked very well for another franchise?
Yeah.
I personally think they're going for the latter. I'd be wonderfully surprised if it has this spin where it's just like, wow, that's a story that we needed to see in the Star Trek universe, or a story I don't mind seeing in the Star Trek universe anyway, as opposed to, okay, I guess we're going to watch Star Trek Guardians now.
Yeah.
So, how about Linda? I don't know if we got your hot take on this.
I'm looking at it as a fan, but I do see your point. It's like, would I watch this movie if I wasn't a Star Trek person, you know, a Star Trek fan? I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know that is something that it's almost like when, you know, we say we're going to get that moderate voter. We're going to get that Republican that might vote Democrat, and that's what we're going to say. Do those people even really exist? Are there people out there that are going to be watching this casually? No, I don't think so. I think that again, that's the tail wagging the dog. Like, and I'm not saying that everything needs to be pandered for fan service, but what I am saying is realize that you have a core audience here. So maybe you make something that you know that they will adore, and then if the property is strong enough, it will get some crossover views. It'll get the buzz. It'll get what you need.
That's interesting.
So,
you know, you don't see that this pops up on somebody's Paramount Plus, and they go, "Ooh, what's that?" And they don't know anything about Trek. Are they going to? They're going to click it, or are they going to move on?
Because it does look like they're trying to do like a caper, like an action caper movie.
Yeah.
You know, so put it at the top of Ocean's 13 or something.
What does the thumbnail say? Does it say like Star Trek Section 31, or does it just say Section 31?
I think it just says
Section 31.
Yeah, that might be so. Like to get people to watch it that aren't into Star Trek.
Now Wikipedia calls it Star Trek Section 31, but I don't know which one's which. We'll find out in a week.
Yeah, I can say this. I'm like Lower Decks every night. Every Wednesday night at 3 a.m., I was giddy. I was excited. I couldn't wait. With this, there's a couple dates this month that I'm like looking at the calendar and dreading, and that's one of them. And I'm dreading it because I want it to succeed. I want it to be awesome. I can't wait to watch it, but I'm so afraid of it sucking that I don't want it to come because I don't want it to suck.
Well, but that goes back to what Linda was saying about there are series that you just watched to be a completist because you started it. And I feel like for a lot of us, Disco was a series like that. We just watched it because it was the only Trek out there and we sort of had to. Yeah. And this comes from that pedigree. So, of course, you're going to have trepidation of that same caliber. It's coming from a place where you're reluctant already.
And you're almost from a hope-based watching perspective. I hope this one's the one that turns it around.
I would love to just love this one. Yeah.
So I don't know. The jury's out. We'll know in a week whether we're right, whether we're wrong. This will probably age very poorly when it's like the biggest freaking movie on the planet.
I know. But like,
what day of the week is it? Like,
please pull this down from YouTube. Don't let people.
Is it dropping Thursday morning, Wednesday night again?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a Friday, so it'll be 3 a.m. Friday.
Right. So
3 a.m. Friday.
Yeah, that's what
so like Thursday night. Thursday night.
So usually Trek was on Thursdays, but this is specific to January 24th, which is Friday.
Right? Friday. So it'll probably air Thursday morning at 3 or Friday morning at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You know.
All right.
Which I'm one of those weirdos that I watch it like when. Yeah, I guess I harken back to when stuff used to come on at 6 or 7 p.m. So typically I'm not watching it till then. So I'm out. Albie's the guy that's making me turn off all my social media until I go home. I turned off social media for 2 weeks when Picard season 3 was out.
Oh, it's good you did.
Yeah.
I had to watch those live because I didn't want to be spoiled.
Yeah.
100%.
But it's rough staying up that late sometimes.
So I guess the time will tell on Section 31. Any other errant thoughts about it, or I guess all of us cautiously hopeful.
Yeah,
cautiously
optimistic.
Not optimistic. No, not optimistic. No,
no, hopeful.
Right.
Okay, so. Yeah, so we'll see. I can't wait to talk about it. That's one thing. So I know I'll watch it at least 3 times.
Yeah,
probably once that night and then a couple times the next day.
So we doing trivia or Trek and Tell? What are we doing?
Yeah. Did Captain Charles have other things to talk about? I think.
Yeah. Ready Room. It's interesting, right? Because you're watching Ready Room, and in the last 10 seconds, Wheaton seems to say that it's done. He didn't. He said what? This has been a great ride for 5 years, or blah blah blah, whatever, and then signing off. Is it really officially canceled? Has he said a word about it? About Ready Room being done? Absolutely for sure.
Yeah, it was announced by one of the producers. Right after Lower Decks ended. Right after they aired that last episode, it was announced. I believe Trek Movie had an article. That's where I read it.
But do you know? But we don't know if it was a Paramount decision or Will Wheaton saying, "Hey, I want to go."
No, it was Paramount decision.
I don't think it would have been Will because that was a sweet gig.
Yeah, and to me,
I don't know how much he was getting paid, but still.
This is another thing that worries me about the direction things are headed because, and maybe again, this is to Chris's point. I'm a fan. Maybe only 12 people are watching Ready Room. I don't know, but to me, I thought a Ready Room was necessary as far as just building up, sort of maintaining momentum between the episodes. You watch the episode and you go fly over to Ready Room and get to hear from the performers and the behind the scenes and all that. I think it's going to be a gap. Maybe they'll replace it with something else, but God, please don't let it be what they had in the first season of Discovery. You remember that?
Maybe Treksploration. Maybe Chris and I will get the call.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe you guys are being so coy because you've got the gig and you can't spill it.
See, we're lucky that the Ready Room was also on YouTube, so you could see that there was tens of thousands of people watching it. So it's curious that they abandoned it and no plans for something new that were announced. But I think if you're going to have an after show, Star Trek is like the one to do, right?
Well, I feel like that is sort of a reaction to just podcasting in general. And that's why, I guess it's why am I blanking on the guy who pretty much pioneered fan casts at midnight?
Joe Bob Briggs.
No. But it's like a whole. Anyway, edit this out, Abby.
Oh, sure, I will.
Yeah. What I'm saying is like you also had Talking Dead after The Walking Dead. You had the Ready Room for Star Trek. I think there were other post-show shows that were just supposed to appeal to fans who might listen to a fan cast. And that's what this was about. And it was also a nice way for them to get like extra content for those diehards and make it official somehow, maybe make some money off of it. That's all. And I don't see, like Charles, you're saying it really psyched you up to keep you going between shows. I listen to enough fan casts where I don't need the Ready Room. I rarely, if ever, watched it. So I can see them putting an end to it, especially since there is no more, except for Strange New Worlds, that's going to be in perpetual
Starfleet Academy.
I guess,
Starfleet Academy.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah, I think it doesn't reflect on the Ready Room as much as it reflects on whoever is making the decisions. Is like, Star Trek, not anymore. We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they canceled Prodigy and like kicked it off its own platform.
They erased it from existence.
Yeah, so I mean,
they don't even talk about it anymore.
They're making it. The pendulum is swinging back the other way. I mean, we got to look at it this way. We had many years of premier streaming Trek that they were making just for us. And it was of varying quality, but it was still there. So We're going back to one of the drier periods, is the way I look at it. And it'll come back around.
Maybe the streaming platform has the exact numbers, so it's not like Nielsen families and they're guessing and estimating and all that stuff. So they know exactly how many people are watching it and how many times they're watching it. So I think it might be just a fact of financial decisions instead of like creating that back catalog content that's going to be evergreen, which I think was the thought going into the new Star Trek era.
Well, I think it's all financial. And even like Netflix is coming up against the hard reality that you can't just put every single show that you ever wanted to have on streaming and have it be a success. I mean, the fact of the matter is, with them just having this stuff exclusive to Paramount Plus and promoting that platform, it's making them absolutely no money. So they need to expand it out. That's why the movies are going to different streaming services. That's why, they had the joint thing with Nickelodeon so that they could reach a more cogent audience for that, for that would actually have a chance of watching Prodigy. You're not gonna get Paramount Plus to watch Prodigy, and I don't think anybody but us is getting Paramount Plus to watch Star Trek. So, you want more, I guess, mainstream dramas like the Kevin Costner Western or
Yellowstone and
or whatever.
I don't know the numbers or if they're public, but it must be good. It must reflect good on Strange New Worlds that it is starting filming its 4th season, and that wasn't canceled. So
they're regularly in the top. They've been in the top 10 multiple times. Strange New Worlds episodes, and Picard season 3 was as well. But I don't think Discovery ever hit there once.
That makes sense to me because I watch Discovery at 3 a.m. and if I was doing a podcast on it, I'd watch it 2 or 3 times. But if I wasn't, I would just watch it the once and say, okay, I watched it. Mm-hmm. But like Strange New Worlds, I'll watch it for fun. So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So there we go.
By the way, Chris.
Other topics, Captain?
Just really quickly, let me interject. Chris
Yes.
Hardwick. Chris Hardwick.
Chris Hardwick,
yes.
yes.
And Nerdist.
Yes, Nerdist.
Nerdist.com is what I was thinking.
Yes.
Of. Thank you, Willard.
I had to go look it up. I'm not as omnipotent.
The Omnipotent Willard!
I tend to be sometimes. I had to go look it up this time.
Well, thank you for rescuing me.
I couldn't
for
think of his
saving my
name
bacon.
either.
That's it. Now I feel like I'm part of the Section 31 crew. You came in and you swooped me out of a disastrous situation so I could have hijinks that are adjacent to the timeline.
A week from now, we might be like, that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, right. This was Back to the Future too, but better.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
So,
all right, we got unboxings, we got show and tells, we got Trek and tells. Chris, lead us.
All right, unboxing. Well, we finally got a box that's been long promised from an omnipotent somebody. So I went to the P.O. box today, and lo and behold, big package. P.O. Box 546.
Let me just
show the label.
Say I got the same thing for both of you. So
okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to unbox this right now. I even brought a little Exacto so that I could do it. Haven't been this excited since Linda sent me a card with an F-bomb.
With the F-bomb in it.
All right.
Ooh.
It's very heavy.
What could it be?
Is. Let's take a look. Oh my goodness, there's a lot going on here.
I'm actually starting to dread that it might not be my baggage.
There we go.
Yeah, that's my package.
Yep. Okay. There are.
Oh, Willard showing his package on the show.
Hello.
Live.
Hello. Heyo. So we have 2.
Yeah. So one of those is for you. One's for Albie.
Albie, you're gonna love this. Are you ready?
I'm gonna love this.
Ba, ba, ba,
He telling me to buy you coffee.
ba, ba,
Wow.
It's Janeway.
I saw that.
It's Janeway.
I'm gonna put that with my popcorn.
So for everybody listening on the pod feed, this is Pop Culture Coffee, Star Trek Voyager coffee, black, dark roast, 100% Arabica coffee with Janeway on the cover. So thank you, Omnipotent Willard.
That is the sexiest coffee I ever saw in my
It's
life.
even got an Elcar's display on the back talking about the coffee.
Nice.
This company, the artwork is limited. So when they run out, they may put the coffee back out again, but it'll have different artwork on it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Wow. Thank you
Albie,
so
you gotta
much.
put that with your popcorn, your Voyager popcorn.
I will.
And I will tell you also that I've talked to the owner, and I don't know how much. I mean, he told me, so I guess I can. But he did say that they're in the deal right now with a certain someone for a Back to the Future line of coffee,
Ooh.
and they have talked to him. They're planning on having him sign contract at the same time to do a certain character that he played in Star Trek. You guys can put the.
I think we put that together. It's Thomas F. Wilson, right?
I like that.
So, and the other in the box was something that was in bubble wrap. So we're doing this
Bubble
now.
wrap.
All right, this is very well wrapped, and it looks like our life's work in your hands. It's a pottery something. I'm thinking it's something that we might be able to use to partake in the coffee. So, very nice. Let's take a look at this.
I just thought of something. The Omnipotent Willard literally bought us a coffee.
Yes,
That's what I said. You keep telling me to buy a coffee. So
Buy
I
a
did.
coffee.
That's awesome.
And it is a beautiful
Ooh.
sort of terracotta, very 70s style mug.
Nice.
But look at that. It's got...
Oh, wow. Even better.
Yep. So for anybody that's
Wow.
at home, it's got a Star Trek mission patch. Like, I guess it's the...
I like that.
Which comm badge is this?
Yep.
Is it the
Voyager.
Okay, so it's got the Voyager comm badge on it. So we have one each
Coffee
of these.
in that
Albie.
nebula.
So
I
it's
love
too bad
that.
you're not going to get one of these. I'm keeping them both.
Hey, I know where you live. I can be there in 30 hours on a train.
All
Now,
right.
I don't know if they sent you the beans or the ground.
It feels like it's ground.
Is it ground? Okay.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I had ordered.
How did it
I
smell?
accidentally ordered beans, and then when I talked to him on the phone, because he shipped me mine, but he didn't ship those two, so I had to call him back and say, "Hey, we're missing a couple."
Yeah.
And I told him just ship it directly to you. It was a lot easier.
And it's perfect. So
but
yeah,
I
these are
also
ground
told him I
already.
didn't know if you guys preferred beans or ground, so go ahead and do ground, because that's what I originally planned on ordering.
Both are good.
Excellent.
There's coffee in that nebula.
Oh,
Wow.
I wanted to say
Air date.
about
February
those
13th.
packaging on the back. There's a tab. You can open it, slide. It's got a zip lock there,
Yep.
but so you can open that package without destroying the picture or anything.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
that's smart.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I love about it, because I plan on displaying all mine up in the. And yes, I said all mine.
Love the
I'm
quote.
definitely having a cup of that. That's for sure.
All right.
Are we
So
ready
thank
for
you very
me?
much, Willard. This is amazing.
Who's going next, Captain, with the unboxings?
Unboxings.
Oh
Do you have
God.
any more unboxings,
Yeah,
Chris,
no,
or is that after?
My
No,
track and
I
tail
think-
relates to what he just unboxed. So
I have a package that came today as well. I think it might
There
be
you
from the Omnipotent Albie. I'm not sure.
Oh, the omnipotent. I'm not omnipotent. The impotent Albie.
Impotent Albie.
That's close.
I sent you guys an unboxing video the other day. Did you get it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
That's your birthday present from me and Serenity,
Thank
Christopher.
you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chris.
Oh
Happy
wow.
Happy
birthday
birthday
to you.
Thank
Nice.
you very much. I'm coughing in joy. This is a T-shirt that says
Very cool.
"To boldly go where no man has gone before." Star Trek, exploring the final frontier since 1966, and it's the beautiful, beautiful TOS Enterprise. No bloody A, B, C, D, or potato peeler nacelle struts.
Yeah. Cool.
What
way
day
that
is
Jeffrey Simpson
today?
did.
There it
It's
is.
Chris's birthday. What a day for a birthday. Let's all have some cake.
All right, so that's my unboxing on this end. We got
Except for
beautiful,
you,
coffee,
Albie.
beautiful mugs,
For
and
you.
a beautiful shirt.
You got to be careful.
What?
You got to be careful with the cake, Albie.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. I can't eat cake. Sucks.
So
I can look at cake. Sometimes I smell cake and my alarm goes off. I have something.
thank you
I have
guys for the
something.
birthday
I don't know
wishes,
what
by the
this
way.
is.
So
let's
yeah, I
see.
sent something to both Albie and Charles, and I'm glad that I held off on Willard's because I'm going to revise one of the things that I sent. But anyway,
Okay. I'm going to unpin that and put me up here. So I got this. Trying to rip it. ASMR. Right? Trying to not show any.
unboxing.
Okay. It looks like it's cylindrical
Mm-hmm.
and possibly made of
Yeah, I'm
clay.
gonna say when you showed your Christmas present last episode, I thought, oh great, oh my,
Hey, look at that.
Never have
So-
to. Oh,
No,
I
not at all.
wanted to do a mug with our
Treksploration.
logo. I made one for me. I made one. I sent one to Charles too because I was
Yeah,
sending
you
him the
did. I
t-shirt.
should have brought it up here. It's downstairs. I
Well,
used it this morning.
I got to be honest with you. I'm not too crazy about the way this turned out. The lettering, the Treksploration has a much brighter gold outline, and it kind of gets lost in this. It just didn't translate well to a mug. So it's you live and you learn. But I just love the artwork that Scott did.
It's
of
a
us,
little
so-
dark, maybe,
Yeah,
but maybe that just means it's HDR, right?
sure.
The blacks are inky blacks. I don't know. I like it. I'm happy.
So that's what. So that'll be on our merch store soon.
Well, darn, I should have saved my
There.
unboxing for this. I should have saved my unboxing for this, and I still didn't send it to you guys.
Yeah. So Charles also got. I sent Charles a Treksploration T-shirt, and I actually put the Treksploration logo in the right spot so you can maybe see it on camera. It's not like down on your belly. And
I'm so
a mug
jelly.
with the Treksploration logo.
Yeah.
And
I've got a mobile emitter too. No, it's
You
more
guys-
of a. I'm not sure what that
Oh,
is.
cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
there we
You
go.
shrunk it
And
down,
I-
Chris.
I shrunk it down so you can actually use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it. That's good. That's because
you guys, is the merch store available online yet? Or
We keep threatening, but not yet.
okay, because I went
We're
on
working
a
on
hunt when you guys had your shirt. I went on a hunt looking for your merch.
it was
store. I
taken
ordered
down
one.
immediately because the Delta was a copyright thing.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize.
So yeah, so I think we're gonna try to go through Patreon has a thing. So
Anyway, we'll
we're gonna
figure
try
that
to
out.
open a store there. So we'll see.
So when we do,
But yeah, Captain Charles was very generous helping out one of our friends and their family, so he got the deluxe package.
Oh, cool. Okay, you
Appreciate
okay.
that, Captain Charles.
I also have to send an autographed copy of something.
Oh,
That has to go.
oh,
out.
did I win?
Somebody won.
Surprise!
I don't know yet.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
We have to do the whole thing, put everybody in and randomize it and stuff. All right. Do we have any other show and tells or Trek and tells?
Trek and
Yeah.
tells.
I got a Trek and tell.
Okay, what do you got?
It's related to what I sent you guys. Thought you'd like to see the rest of them. Got the
Sure. Oh wow.
okay.
Yeah.
That one's Captain's Choice.
Captain's
medium
Choice.
roast. The mug that goes with it. Where's the camera?
Oh, that's really cool.
Ah,
I'll be right back. I'm
Wow.
gonna grab mine real quick.
It's got
all
the,
right. Sounds good.
the Enterprise. It's a blue shoulder bag like you did.
I
I'll
like
make
it.
this quick. It's been a long show. And then, of course, we got the
Wow, that looks
vanilla.
logical.
and that's Vulcan Vanilla, which yeah. And then the cup.
Well, like
I'll
the
tell
red
you,
cup.
this
Oh
cost me
wow,
a fortune for all this stuff. So
that's going to be the cup that smashes first.
Do the cups and the coffee come from the same company, or are they different?
yes, yeah, pop culture coffee. That's
Very
the
cool. I
website.
need to look into that more.
And Klingon version.
Ooh,
Kepla,
nice.
So that's a
butterscotch.
butterscotch. Oh, you can read that.
Klingons love their butterscotch.
Klingon.
I don't know about
And
Klingons,
then,
but
of
I
course,
love
the
butterscotch.
mug.
So that's the one I'm most
Oh,
intrigued with.
very cool.
Coffee can only be enjoyed in the original butterscotch.
That's true.
Tell me there's a Borg coffee that tastes like hot garbage.
Okay, now the
Comes in a very tightly.
this one you've already seen, Voyager, like Captain Janeway, but I wanted to show you. You open it on the back.
Right. You can just
See, so
unzip
it
it.
doesn't-
Oh, like a Ziploc thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
doesn't
you just,
that's
you just,
nice.
you just pull that right off, and then it does have a zip. So that way you can preserve your artwork without the
I
packaging.
love it.
And still be able to enjoy the coffee. And then there's. I'm almost done, guys.
No worries,
Then
we're
there's,
having fun.
the Federation roast
Wow,
with
looks good. Wow.
Wow.
That's so nice.
Did that
Pop
get
culture,
dirty
what?
along
Pop
with-
culture.
Pop culture coffee.
No.
Pop culture coffee. Very cool. And Willard, you probably don't even drink coffee, do you?
Oh yeah. That's only about my 6th cup today.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I
Very
drink from the
cool,
moment I
very
get up
cool.
till I go to bed. I drink coffee. And then you asked about Albie. I had to keep my trap shut when you asked.
Ah, no way.
What
Now,
are the
this is,
Coffee
on the
crunch.
This is the one I tried this one not too long ago. It's actually not too bad. They don't have a cup out for it yet.
Are there quotes on the sides of the bag?
What's
What
that?
does it say?
Are there quotations on the side of the bag, just like the Voyager one? Should be.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
they all
well,
may all have. You know, it's funny. I
yeah.
never looked at the size of bags.
What does it say?
Freedom is irrelevant. Self-determination is irrelevant. You must comply. The best of both worlds, part 1.
Nice.
We are
Borg
Borg.
coffee.
You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
Insulated.
Wow. I know I said we were living in a bad timeline, but I don't know. Borg coffee.
Yeah.
Voyager coffee. We might
Well,
be
you
in the
know
good
what? Coffee
timeline.
Crunch, it's actually pretty good. I quite liked it. It's a mellow flavor.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Willard, for
Thank
sharing
you
that.
so much for those.
And I guess
The
Charles,
Omnipotent Willard literally bought us coffee.
wow, look at that. All right, Charles has holding
Ooh.
up a beautiful picture of. It looks like a painting of Deep Space Nine with the frame
Wow.
and
Yes.
wormhole included. So tell us about that, Charles.
So
Where did you,
there's
where'd you
an
get that?
artist on, you may have seen her on Twitter. She's on Blue Sky, Jenny R. Johnson. She does a ton of this stuff. And she did one after Picard season 3 where it's a top-down view of the poker table. She's done all sorts of genres.
Oh, wow.
This one I had to get. And so anyway, I bought a print about 6 months ago, and I was waiting for the right frame, and then took it to Hobby Lobby, and here we are. So it's gorgeous.
Very nice.
Oh, well said.
That is gorgeous.
And I love the yellow on the Terrak Nor, and then there's the Defiant.
That's amazing. That's a beautiful
Yeah.
piece of art.
Looks pretty cool. So I've got it up in the.
Wow.
in the
I'm
loft.
glad you went last. Showed up my coffee.
Is that like a
That is
lithograph
beautiful.
or a print? Original?
It's a print, and you've reached the end of Charles's knowledge of how art is reproduced.
There we go.
My husband has the Picard one, with the poker. My daughter got it.
Oh wow! Okay.
I can show you that one sometime. I have a
that'd be
show
great.
and tell. It's not a Trek, but
Okay.
Okay.
it's something that Albie will like, because I noticed when you were sending out your emails and on the Christmas card, you made a lot of references to A Christmas Story. I'm thinking that you like
Yes.
the movie a little bit.
I did, yes.
So, my husband got me this for Christmas. Let me see if it's right side up. It's a little Orphan Annie decoder pin
Oh,
That's
wow.
from 1938.
But everything translates to Ovaltine, right?
Yes.
Don't forget to drink your Ovaltine.
He made me translate a little message that he said, and it said, "Be sure to drink your,"
Ovaltine.
like it says Ovaltine. It says Ovaltine. He says, "No, it doesn't. Keep going. Be sure to drink your Star Trek wine."
Ah, wow. That is so cool. So that's a real thing, and that's an original?
It's an original, yes.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
Wow.
Stuff in my house.
Your husband's a keeper.
Yep.
That's a good gift. That's a good gift. That's crazy. I love it. Yeah, we love all things Christmas Story. We went and saw it live. I'm going to try to go to the escape room they got in Florida there.
There's a
Wow.
We'll see.
Christmas Story escape room.
Yeah, and it was advertised to me last time we were in Orlando, but I already had our week planned out. And it wasn't like around Christmas time, which is weird. So maybe it's all year. So we'll see.
I'd love to hear what the puzzles are. So you have to put the leg back together to get out of the room.
And you have to play taps outside the garage.
Yeah.
You have to change a
They
tire
have the house
in the
Cleveland.
snow in the dark.
Keep the hounds out away from the kitchen.
You have to negotiate for a good price on a Christmas tree. You have to restoke the furnace.
Yeah.
That So quick aside, speaking of oh my gosh, his name escapes me. The guy who played the dad in
Darren
McGavin.
So I started for some reason watching $6 Million Man on Peacock. I did not know that he was in the pilot episode because there was no Oscar Goldman. He was the Oscar guy or whatever at the time.
Yeah, he was the original Oscar Goldman.
I don't remember that. Huh?
Oh, I didn't know that. I know him mostly from what is it, Cloak and Dagger, I think.
He was in Kolchak.
Oh yeah, I have all those on VHS. The Columbia House.
It's one of those before its time, I think, right?
Yeah. So
anyway.
I think we lost Chris.
Uh-oh.
We lost the Omnipotent Willard. I think I went on too long. This happens when I talk too long. People just start leaving me.
This is what he was talking about at the beginning, that when that thing happens, now it's happening. People are disappearing.
All right. Very cool stuff. Very cool Trek and Tells. Very good show and tells.
I was going to show you guys my $6 Million Man series set that I bought, and then I remembered I didn't buy it. I was watching it on Peacock.
All right, are we ready for
the technology
trivia?
Trivia. I think Chris is going to ask because he's got the more lights. It's very dark.
I took 2 cards, so we're going to go one each. Okay. So this one is for Willard. What planetary alliance is announced in the Deep Space Nine episode Improbable Cause?
Oh, you know how long it's been since I've seen Deep Space Nine? When did it air? 30 years ago?
Something like that.
I couldn't tell you.
Anybody want to swoop in?
Oh, gosh.
Me.
What's the question again?
What planetary alliance is announced in the DS9 episode Improbable Cause?
Is it Cardassian?
The Dominion? The Dominion?
Willard's Charles is half right. It is the Cardassian Romulan alliance.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
All right, this one is for Charles from Texas. Captain Charles, in the Voyager episode Scorpion, Part 2, how does the Doctor cure Harry Kim from an infestation of alien cells?
Do they utilize nanoprobes?
What kind of nanoprobes, sir?
Borg nanoprobes?
Yes, that is correct.
Borg nanoprobes? Yeah.
All right, so one for Charles.
You got your 3 questions. There's 2 answered, 1 more.
And this one is for Listen Linda. To whom is the Next Generation episode Unification Part 1 dedicated?
I don't know. Gene Roddenberry?
You are correct. Good guess. Gene Roddenberry, because he had just died.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, so we got 1 for 1. Hey, Alvy.
Yes.
Who was known as Annika Hansen before her assimilation by the Borg?
Is it 7 of 9?
Yes, it's 7 of mine.
Jerry Ryan, Jerry Zimmerman.
Yes, Jerry
the
Zimmerman.
Future Mrs. Burge, maybe. Hopefully.
And I have 2 more questions here. I'm going to throw them out to the crowd. How does Q celebrate his return to the continuum in the Next Generation episode Deja Q?
With a party, with a
Yep.
I can't.
Mariachi
band.
Yep, mariachi band.
Mariachi band.
And what else?
And
Mariachi band. I couldn't get to the computer before you guys answered.
Mariachi band and cigars.
With a laugh or
You got it.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
Yeah, that was it. Mariachi band and cigars for the crew.
Very good.
And last but not least, which cast member was considered for the role of Commander Sisko on DS9 until producers discovered how young he was? I think.
Whoa.
Wow, no, that's not what I would have said.
Emmanuel Lewis.
Can you imagine?
Right from Webster to Deep Space Nine.
Can you imagine?
How young he was.
This is new to me. I don't know.
Right? I didn't know this either. So it's not, I'll tell you what, and then you can guess. It is one of the main cast members. This person does have another role on the show.
Julian Bashir, Sadiq Al-Fadil.
You got it. Well,
really?
They call him Alexander Sadiq here.
But, he was
Alexander Sadiq. He was a youngin.
So yeah, so he was considered for Sisko, and then he was too young. He never really struck me as like extremely young, but nobody on Star Trek ever
That's
strikes
interesting.
me. Maybe Ezri. Ezri is a little young looking, but
Ezra was young.
You know who his uncle is, right?
No, who?
Gene Roddenberry.
Malcolm McDowell.
Oh,
Wow.
there's some Trek cred right there.
So
All
does
right.
that make him part Alorian?
Makes him part Lorian,
Yeah.
part
H.G.
Genetically modified organism?
Yeah.
part Kubrickian.
GMO.
Anyway, so
All right. What else is left to do?
Charles wins.
We gotta rate.
We got to rate.
The crew has to
So
rate.
I think we just
The
rate
captain.
rate and final thoughts of Lower Decks as a whole.
As a whole. And
Out
this
of
is where I
5
make up
objects.
my own point system, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it 5 out of 5 Boimler screams. Yeah.
And
I enjoyed it. I think that while it had a couple of moments where there's a couple episodes that weren't as strong, I had a great time, and that I know that regardless of some of the things we talked about, I think you could tell that the people in it were invested and they loved the franchise, and so I just had a great time, and so yeah, 5 out of 5 for me.
Very good, Willard.
Oh, well, first of all, I got to say, you just had to ask the Q question after I was away from the computer. That took the wind out of me to run back.
we heard you answer.
Halfway across the house to try to answer before Albie did. Also,
You're fast. I saw that coffee.
Well, and you didn't hear me, but I was screaming out 7 to 9. Also, I got to give it also 5 out of 5. Discoveries. Oh, wait, wrong show. No, Cerritos.
Cool.
It's not funny, but
5 out of 5 Cerritos.
All right. Well, we got 2 giant fans here. Listen, Linda, final rating and thoughts, if you have any, on Lower Decks as a whole.
I give it 1 Dupler. No, 2. No, 4. No, 8.
Very good. So you enjoyed it.
Well done.
As it is. As I watched it more, I enjoyed it more. It just kept
Makes sense. Very good. I think that was a pretty successful captain's table.
I think so. Albie, did we ever give our final thoughts and ratings? We did on the last show, right?
Maybe not on the whole series. So I'll go, and then you, Chris.
Okay.
This will give you time to think of some big words I don't understand.
I don't have.
I'm
to
gonna
think
say
about
it. I'm gonna say it was really successful. I think they stuck the landing. I think they nailed the series. There's a couple episodes that I was like, but a couple out of 5 seasons isn't bad. And I think I'm gonna definitely watch this season again and again. It was much better than Cats, and I'm gonna give it 7 out of 9 Lower Decks lunchboxes.
Alrighty, and I'm just going to go on record saying that I've given Lower Decks a hard time throughout its run, and I think with good reason sometimes, but on the whole, I think it tried to do something new that we haven't seen in Trek, and I'm very happy that they did do it, even though I didn't enjoy a bit of it. I'm really glad that it exists, and I'll give it 3 variably psychotic, depending on the season, Mariners out of 5.
Very good. Very good.
Right.
All right. So what's coming up next, Christopher D. Philippus?
We still have to do our TNG wrap up of
Coming of
Growing
Age.
Pains. Show me
Coming of
that
Age.
smile again. Wrong show. Yeah, it's the one with
Don't waste another minute.
that Wacky Seaver family comes on to Starbase 80. And anyway, yeah, we're doing.
Boner was actually Chekhov's son.
Yes,
Is that right?
Yeah. Tragically,
Star Trek
he
Connection.
died young.
Unfortunately, yeah.
That
Sad
was.
face.
I had to actually. I was in the newsroom when they were reading that, and they kept on calling him
Oh,
Koenig. And I said it's pronounced
Koenig. Yeah.
It's pronounced Koenig, and they were like, oh, but. So we're going to be doing Coming of Age, and we have a special guest that's going to be with us on that. And then
Quite possibly.
And then after that, we have to do the Prodigy premiere Lost and Found. we'll be doing that.
And somewhere in there, we're doing instant reactions and covering Section 31.
Yeah, I forgot all about it. See, it's already off my.
Will that be your first guest? That will be your first guest if it works out, right?
On this, yes.
On this,
Yeah,
yes.
On Treksploration, yes.
Awesome.
We're trying to avoid doing that because there's a decon chamber and there's so many places where good Star Trek interviews are, but we're also trying to bring more people to our crew. So it's like,
yeah, we're trying to.
We do have contacts and know people, so.
So anyway,
might as well.
So yeah,
might as well exploit our friendships.
Yeah, a lot to come. Yeah, we do have. Albie has made some really good friends over the years. I don't know if you know this. We interviewed 7 billion people for the Quantum Leap podcast. There are still a dozen interviews that we have to edit.
Wow.
So anyway,
an amazing job on that too.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Thank you. Any final thoughts from anyone before we go?
Well, I was going to say real quickly, I haven't seen any interviews with Jolene about her reappearance. So if you guys could get her,
sure. Text her.
I mean,
she keeps sending me pics, and I'm like, "Come on, you're married. This is improper."
I'm sure we're just the ones to nail Jolene.
Yeah, we'll get Jolene.
That'll be us.
If only.
All right.
She's in my top 5.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, I'm coughing.
Of people to get. Linda, any final thoughts before we kick it to Captain Charles?
No final thoughts.
All right. I agree with you. Well, Captain Charles from Texas.
This has been great. I love the panel. I enjoyed that last one, guys, but it's great. It's been great to have 3 of us here with you to bounce off of, and I hope that continues. So thanks again for pulling this together. I'm looking forward to. Let's see if we talk again in another 6 months. We'll have Strange New Worlds will have started by then, hopefully, and Section 31 will have aged. However, and so looking forward to that.
Keep a good thought.
All right, you guys, let me know if you're up at 3 a.m.
It's been a blast,
Friday.
you guys. And
so yeah, and I just want to
think Chris is on his honeymoon cruise.
Yeah. That is my anniversary. I just want to thank all of you guys for coming on. I know it was a long show tonight, but I had a great time. Mm-hmm. And I want to thank everybody who is watching us on YouTube, listening to us on the podcast feed, supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/Treksploration, youtube.com/@Treksploration. You can buy us a coffee. You can see us on Blue Sky. You can send us an email. Treksplorationpod@gmail.com. And
yes, most importantly, whatever you do, comment down below.
Comment
down below. 4 comments per 100 views.
Comments here on the
YouTube.
So
if we've got 500 views, somebody needs to comment 5 times, I think.
Please. And we also need you to send stuff to P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. There. Did I shill right? Did I do good?
I think you did perfect, Chris.
All right. So.
Christopher D. Flippus. Exactly. Is that lemonade or milk? Got milk.
Oh, that would be Goober, actually.
Wow. Goober. Hi, Goober. Goober, stand by. Bye, Goober. Thanks for joining us, Goober. So, for Treksploration, I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Space, but don't you know? Captain Charles on the bridge, it's sight to see. You are omnipotent, got lost so deep. Watch it all night, we're ready for the ride. Check it to the car, side by side. Get on the rhythm as we move to the beat. And we're World Podcast with DFB. We set the stage. Listen, I'll be blue widows from every age. Captain Charles, get ready to the cosmic tide. Get omnipotent love. Time to survive.